out of the cellar.
You know, almost since that night, both of them have gone into a different kind of bowl, haven't they? Right down the old tubes. Isn't it strange to see that this is a TCU-Houston matchup where one team is undeniably going to finish in the cellar of this conference, you'd think, the loser of this game.
And the beleaguered coaches, both well-respected, Bill Yeoman, the father of the Veer, and Jim Wacker, who 2 years ago was a genius.
And since that point 2 years ago, each wrestling with the NCAA, Wacker's team and TCU on probation, Yeoman's team right now answering charges, each of them thought to be, well, Yeoman was in the Cotton Bowl 5 times in 9 years. Wacker was National College Coach of the Year a couple years ago. Now both of them fighting off the wolves at the door.
And it's hard to find a senior on either one of these two young teams.
It's hard to find a junior on Houston at times, isn't it? Both struggling with youth. Young people make big young mistakes.
And the Cougars don't score many points. TCU has been giving up a lot.
Tell you what, TCU can't stop anybody. Houston can't move on anybody. TCU scores a lot, but Houston doesn't give up many. This ought to be a strange game.
Okay, we'll be back to have the starting lineups, TCU and Houston, coming up next on HSE. And tonight it's the TCU Horned Frogs going against the Houston Cougars, both teams looking for their first Southwest Conference win of the year. Welcome back, everybody, as we take a look at the beleaguered Jim Wacker in his 4th year at TCU, and he hasn't won a Southwest Conference game, Norm, in quite a while.
Yeah, 14 straight losses, and things have gotten a little testy at the Frog Club lately. Tell you what, Bill, this could be one of the key plays of the game. TCU's given up over 25 yards of kickoff return, and the two guys for Houston average around that.
Lee Newman is kicking it off, and Paul Smith will have it on about the 5-yard line. He'll bring it back up, good speed. Somebody submarined at about the 20-yard line, and boy, he got his bell rung, but he made the tackle, and he is hurt. He has not moved. And they're calling immediately for the TCU trainer. And I can't see his number right now, and but he made the tackle. It looks like it may be Rougeley, Ricky Rougeley of TCU. That's who it is. And boy, he came submarining and took the feet right out from under Smith. It is Ricky Rougeley, the sophomore out of Carthage, Texas, and he's getting, there's Jim Wacker out to take a look. So a return of about 15 yards on the play by Paul Smith, and the Cougars will have it when we go back into play here on the 21-yard line. And we might get a chance now, if you want to set the offense.
Houston's an offensive team that struggled a great deal this year. This club averages less than 100 yards passing per game, but they may find a very yielding defense in that area. TCU permits over 200 yards passing per game. In fact, Bill, one of the most astounding statistics about TCU, they permit 9.5 yards per attempt, not per completion, per attempt.
There is the Houston offensive line, very, very young. A lot of babies up front.
And small babies, too. 250 pounds is the biggest of those people.
And the backs and receivers, Mark Davis, they were looking for a lot from Gerald Landry this year. He's had a lot of injuries. He's pushed Mark Davis to the front. Stankus is in there because of an injury to Tate. Sloan Hood, the lone returner.
And Hood had a huge game against this team last year, 226 yards. In fact, in 2 games in his career, Hood gets 7.3 yards a carry. And as weak as TCU's pass defense is, they're not much better against the run. In fact, TCU permits 5.5 yards per play this year.
To show you what kind of a tough year it's been for Sloan Hood, he only has 270 yards rushing for this entire season, so he almost beat that in the game he had last year. There you see the split backfield for Houston, and the tight end will go in motion, and the handoff will be to Hood. Big running room across the middle, across the 30-yard line. A gain of 11 for the Houston Cougars and a first down. Greg Jones made the tackle for the Horned Frogs, but what a big gaping hole in that TCU defensive line, and there it is, and it's patched up. You will not be seeing Mitchell Benson.
No, Big Mitch Benson's hurt. Tracy Simeon's been moved all over this club. Nor will you see Kevin Dean, at least at the outset. He missed curfew last night, and the #1 tackler's not in there for TCU.
Mark Davis on the option. Stankus out across the 33 before he's run out of bounds by the free safety, Philanda Newton. 6'2", 195-pounder out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Lots of people have been criticizing Jim Wacker's defense. In 10 of the last 12 games, this team has allowed over 400 yards. And, Bill, in 5 of the last 12 games, they've allowed over 500 yards. Ouch.
Dwayne LeBlanc comes down low as the wide receiver. And the Edward Thomas, the tight end, goes in motion to the top part of your screen. There's the early handoff to John Stankus again as he carries right up to about the 40-yard line of the Cougars. Frank Hawkins, number 99, made the tackle.
Bill, you've seen Houston play this year. They may be a 1-6 team, but golly, they've had some tough people to play. What, 5 teams ranked in the top 20 when they played them?
Yeah, and Bill Yeoman has had to do it with a lot of kids, basically, Norm. His defense has been outstanding, led by Gary McGuire, Robert Harper. We'll see them in a moment. But he just hasn't had the big offensive line he's had in the past. Davis keeps on the option across the 45, and that's the necessary yardage for another Houston first down. Frank Hawkins made the tackle and a nice block. Watch it coming up by Mike Rhodes, number 86.
Rhodes coming back inside from the outside. Davis on the mesh play, takes it out of the tummy of the first runner, keeps it himself, and gets 6.
Davis has run 66 times for 180 yards so far this season. He had an excellent game against Oklahoma State, second game of the season. Again, motion. Stankus goes over left guard for maybe just a couple this time. The TCU defensive line waiting for that one, especially Frank Hawkins, number 99. We've called his number out about 3 or 4 times already tonight.
We could spend the rest of the night talking about everybody that's hurt on these two teams. Greg Moore is down for TCU, a starting defensive end. Benson's out of there. Dean's out of there, who missed curfew and has a shoulder problem. Golly.
Mike Rhodes carries in the play. He'll be flanked to the right. There you see Mark Davis. He's a good passer. And with the lack of a running game, they've had to go to the air more than necessary. Good flare pattern out to Stankus, and that saved his life because TCU was coming on a blitz. Garland Littles forced Stankus out of bounds. But the Cougars picked up some yardage where it looked like they were going to have a pretty big loss there.
Now, you think that, oh, gee whiz, that's only a 3-yard gain, but believe me, to a Veer team, 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 8 are very different situations. 3rd and 4, you can still legitimately run your Veer offense with the triple option.
Watch for that quick handoff to 42, Sloan Hood. Bill Yeoman likes to use that sometimes in third and short situations, but he'll sprint right this time, looking for LeBlanc. Nothing there. Gets a good block. Gets up close to the 40-yard line, down in TCU territory, and it's a first down for Houston. Boy, there was a great block by a Cougar out in front of Mark Davis. I didn't get his number, but he really cleared the way for him.
This looks like a passing play. I don't believe Davis ever had serious thoughts of throwing the ball here. Is you'll see Hood come downfield and boom, knocks the defender back. Hood's was the key block, but there was another one in there.
Yeah, Sloan Hood, though, was the man that got him the necessary yardage for the first down, and this drive by Houston from its own 21 is now on the TCU 42-yard line. Thomas in motion once again. There's big Sloan Hood. He breaks away inside the 30, and he drags the TCU ball carrier down to about the 26-yard line. Philanda Newton made the touchdown-saving tackle on Sloan Hood. And what is it about TCU that brings out the best in number 42?
Sloan Hood just goes nuts against this club. As we told you, over 7 yards a carry for 2 games in his career, and he just pulls through people. Bill, I hate to say this about a TCU team coached by some neat people, but TCU is a very poor tackling team. 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th man that hit him finally got him down.
Motion by Thomas, 1st and 10, Houston. There's a quick handoff again. Boy, and I'll tell you what.
Fumble in there.
Tracy Simeon was right there, and TCU gets the football. Scott Harris, number 39, comes away with a fumble. And I don't think Davis made connections. Let's see again. Never got the ball. Sloan Hood lost it. And a good drive by Houston fails again because of a turnover.
Houston's bugaboo. They'll move the ball at times between the 20s. They just won't put points on the board. And against TCU, you've got to put some points on the board because they will score a little bit.
That was a 53-yard drive by Houston, and they come away with nothing. In the backfield now for TCU will be Rasco, Jeffrey, and Darthard. Hand off to Darthard across right tackle, and he gets across the 30 to about the 32, and there's that number 50, Robert Harper. And let me tell you what, folks, we're going to be calling his name along with Gary McGuire's all night long.
Just get ready for it. All night is right. Clint Haley's back off an injury. W.C. Nix will play a lot of the game tonight. He's maybe their best offensive lineman. He's not starting.
And Rasco, along with Jeffrey, the big numbers. Watch Jared Delaney. He has excellent speed on the outside. And this time Jeffrey gets the football. The Cougars are swarming. And maybe a gain of only about a yard. There's Robert Harper again, number 50. You know that Harper has, as we look at Houston's defensive line, Brazina out with a turf toe. I don't know if he's in the game right now. Glenn Montgomery's hurting also.
But forget it. The two guys in this club will make all the tackles of those two. Number 50's Harper, number 51's McGuire.
Gary McGuire, and there's the defensive backfield, and Robert Jones, one of the better free safeties in the Southwest Conference.
Oh!
Quick handoff, and boy, they had both options covered. The Cougars did that time, and it was no gain, and 3 downs and punt. Gary McManus came crashing through that time.
Tell you what, if they'll water David Rasco every week or two, he'll come up in the springtime because McManus just planted him.
Right in the AstroTurf. Back to punt will be Chris Becker, who has a 77-yard punt to his credit this year. Back deep is Orsby Crenshaw for Houston. He'll have some running room at the 32-yard line. They've got the blocking wedge set up, and he couldn't get around the wall. He got to about the 43, but you could see the red-clad jerseys lined up in a perfect wall for Orsby Crenshaw.
Not a terribly good punt for Becker. He's capable of better.
Southwest Conference football continues on Home Sports Entertainment right after this timeout. Wearing number 00 on one side of the field, and the TCU Horned Frog on the west side, as the Cougars with good field position now will have the ball at their own 44-yard line after a 37-yard punt by Chris Becker. Power right up the middle to Stankus, and he's out across the 45 to about the 47. Billy Jones came off the stack. And let's see how they unfold underneath. That looks like Tracy Simeon, maybe the best athlete on that TCU defense.
As you can see, last year, these two teams went up and down the field. Would you believe 4 people rushed for 100 yards in that game?
Yeah, 4 people had their careers in that game, you could say.
Yeah, Hood and Tate for Houston, and Jeffrey and Davis for TCU.
Second down, Cougars need 7. Mark Davis on the option, and he gives to the first man through. That's Sloan Hood, and a whole bunch of purple and white jerseys on top of Hood. There's Tracy Simeon again, 6'2", 255 out of Sweeney. Kevin Dean back in the game now, so it didn't take him long to get back in there. He was disciplined for missing curfew last night. So he did not start, but it didn't take him long to get back in the lineup.
And we've got that 3rd-3, 3rd-4 situation. The first 2 times Houston's been in that situation tonight, they have kept the ball in the hands of the quarterback, Davis, and made the first down.
The ball is just in TCU territory. Jet Brown goes in motion. Davis to Hood. He can't get outside. Good pursuit by TCU and a loss of 1 on the play. Boy, Billy Jones and Ron Lewis really came up hard for the Frogs.
Billy Jones is playing with a severely sprained thumb. You can see it taped the left hand there. But number 1, Jones will come up and force. First of all, the line does a really good job of denying the first 2 options. There's Jones cleaning up, along with Johnson, number 2.
Yeah, Joe Johnson out of Waxahachie. Tony Brooks is back deep. And the punt by Simon Rodriguez. There's a fumble. I think he touched it. Let's see if the Cougars get on it. It could be a touchdown. Did he touch it?
They're going to rule it. It hit the Cougar player, I think. And now they're going to rule touchback because the ball wasn't controlled before it went in the end zone.
I thought for a moment it touched both. I didn't know whether it touched the TCU player first. There's our referee tonight, Frank Shepard. And he says it's a touchback.
Yep.
Hit the Cougars' foot. I didn't have a good angle. Our officials tonight, by the way, referee Frank Shepard. The umpire is John Gaston. Lineman is Bob Jones. Line judge is Walt Coleman. Mike Wetzel, the field judge. The side judge, Jim Potter, and the back judge, Randy McAnally. So there's your lineup of officials tonight. That was a 33-yard punt by Simon Rodriguez, who was a walk-on from Galveston Ball. He had played for Ted Unbehagen in high school.
Now the officials are discussing, did the ball go in the end zone, I think. It was touched. They originally ruled the ball down at the 17 when it hit the on-rushing defender. Now, I know we're not waiting for the person in the booth to make a decision.
Well,
I don't know. Beats me, too. See, it's going to be a touchback. Now, if they'd have just called up to the broadcast booth, we could have saved him 45 seconds.
You could have told him that. You had already made the decision, hadn't you? First down and 10 now for TCU. Rasco has Jeffrey and Darthard and the full house backfield. There they go with a wishbone, and it's a pitch back outside, and that's number 27, Tony Jeffrey, for good yardage before David Bearden spears him for Houston. Gain of about 7 on the play.
The key to that play is Crenshaw. Watch the cornerback come flying up and strip the defender. He'll be number 30, diving in right here. See, Crenshaw takes down the blocker, and everybody else then gets Jeffrey.
It'll be second down, 5 needed for the Frogs at the TCU 25-yard line.
Oh!
Well, somebody must have moved, because Montgomery came across that line of scrimmage like a fire truck and just leveled a Frog. And it looks like it may be illegal procedure against TCU.
Now, the officials are going to get everybody away and talk about this. And what they'll be saying here is, did you see anybody move? No is the answer.
Nope. Montgomery just tried to beat the count himself. Montgomery's 6 foot, about 250 pounds, and he came right across that line of scrimmage, so that should be enough on the penalty for the TCU first down.
TCU's drive started at the 20-yard line. Houston's defense has been remarkably good this season at long-distance prevention. Only 3 drives of 80 yards or longer for touchdowns in 7 games.
And when you look at poor records, usually those penalties reflect the record that you have. Handoff to Tony Darthard and Gary McGuire, number 51, on the tackle.
Houston's defensive linemen don't get a lot of credit. The Montgomerys, the Brazinas, the Hoskins and McManus and Beardens. But their job is to keep people off of Harper and McGuire. Their job is sort of a holding pattern at the line of scrimmage so that Harper and McGuire can make plays.
There's a pitch back again to Jeffrey, and he gets some good yardage. Knocked out of bounds at about the 33-yard line. Gary McGuire was in pursuit along with Robert Jones.
You know, it's sort of like watching a symmetrical football game tonight, isn't it? Both teams running the veer. Bill Yeoman called the father of the veer, and Jim Wacker wrote a book on it.
Well, Wacker really ran it to perfection when he was coaching up in San Marcos. Won him a couple of titles with it. Motion, they break it out. Here comes Rasco again as he turns around, and David Rasco keeps the ball across the 40 to about the 42. Robert Jones on the tackle along with David Bearden. But again, it's enough for a TCU first down. As you look at the stats on David Rasco for the season.
Third down and short, you're almost always going to get the quarterback keeping the ball, aren't you?
Yep.
Because the defense will generally shut down the first back, and you don't want to handle a pitch to the wide side. The quarterback can generally squeeze out a yard or 2.
Pitch back. Coming again. And that's Bobby Davis, number 22, tackled by Robert Harper. Davis will run in there along with Darthard and Jeffrey in the wishbone. And I heard it said earlier this year when Jim Wacker said he was going to go with the wishbone and the veer, that especially some Arkansas coaches said it was tough to run both of those offenses. And I wonder why, since they're both option attacks.
Well, the timings are different. The blocking schemes are a little different. The subtleties of the offenses are very little different, but they are different. You're literally running 2 different offenses.
Going in motion is Delaney. And he'll become the receiver, and he has it in Houston territory inside the Cougar 45-yard line. Robert Jones knocks him out of bounds. Well, that time, Jared Delaney lined up as the fullback in the wishbone, went into motion, and became the receiver.
Cute little wrinkle, because generally your coverage of the fullback is going to fall on a linebacker.
Roscoe Tatum, number 33, comes back into the game, so now he'll be in the backfield with Tony Jeffrey and Bobby Davis. 1st and 10, the ball on the Houston 43-yard line. Good drive so far by TCU. Jeffrey gets a little running room and makes pretty good gain out of it inside the 40 to about the 37. Again, Robert Jones, the tackler for Houston. Glenn Montgomery came in and tackled David Rasco almost as he handed it off to Jeffrey.
Boy, what a nice job by Jeffrey. This looked like about a 2 or 3 yard play because he's hemmed in here. He's got nowhere to go, and he ducks, he avoids, he slips, he gets hit forward, and that winds up being a 7-yard run.
Boy, Robert Jones has 72 tackles this year, and for a free safety, that's doing quite a job. He already has 4 or 5 tonight. Again, it's straight ahead power. Roscoe Tatum down inside the 35-yard line, and that's the necessary yardage for another TCU first down. And now the Frogs have that running game in high gear.
This is a nice job by TCU of advancing the football. Every play in this drive has gained something.
Keith Burnett brought in the play from the bench, number 84. And we'll look at the split veer backfield now by TCU. Rasco will hand it off to the first man through. That should be Jeffrey down at the 30-yard line. Gary McGuire and Gary McManus on the tackles for Houston. Watch Harper on this play.
No one blocks him at all.
6'1", 240-pound junior out of Kansas City. He and McGuire, probably the best tandem in the country. I haven't seen any two better linebackers anywhere, and the pro scouts tell you they're going to go very high after their senior seasons next year. Jeffrey, again, across the right side, and they have found something over there, Norm, they're working on. Jeffrey going to the right side has made some valuable yardage.
You know, that play looked like, unlike the play before when it looked like Jeffrey wasn't going to get much, this one looked like he was going to get a lot because the defenders are screened off. But look at McGuire play off the block, shut off the cutback, and limited that one to only about 4 yards.
Now Tatum is back into the lineup. Looks like a little confusion out there by the Horned Frogs. That play came in late from the bench. And it'll be the wishbone backfield. Rasco wants to pass. He's looking for Delaney. He's covered on the play. Now he's going to have to run for his life. Here come the Cougars. And he throws it out of bounds.
Oh, my. That's intentional grounding for sure.
Got to be.
And that's an awful penalty because that takes TCU completely out of field goal range. That's a 3-point penalty.
David Bearden, Derek Hoskins, and Gary McGuire were all coming after David Rasco. But I think the guy who made that play was Johnny Jackson, the right cornerback. He was all over Jared Delaney, so Rasco had to scramble for his life.
And now, this is also a loss of down penalty here.
Right.
The official will make the loss of down. There's the intentional grounding.
Lost him down on the offense, 4th down.
And now Chris Becker will have to punt.
This wasn't very obvious, Bill, was it?
Well, he threw it even over the cheerleader's head. There wasn't anybody over there to catch it.
Now he says, whoops.
Orsby Crenshaw is back deep for Houston. Good punt. And he'll let it go, and let's see where it hits. The Frogs are trying to kill it on about the 1. It goes into the end zone, and it'll be a touchback.
Consider what happened there. TCU had 3rd down at the 25, and now Houston gets the ball at the 20.
We'll return to the Astrodome in Houston right after this break from your local station at the Cougar 20-yard line. Both teams with 2 good drives early, but no points to show for it. Sloan Hood with only a couple of yards up that middle. Mitchell Benson is now back into the game, and big number 95, you can't miss him at 280 pounds, was a big roadblock.
I can't wait for the A&M TCU game when 340-pound Marshall Land blocks. Now they're saying 280, but hey, Mitchell.
That could be about an 8 on the Richter scale, huh?
Yeah.
Second down, 6 needed for the Cougars. That's Edward Thomas in motion. Looked for Thomas on the quick pass. Now he'll go deep. Mark Davis, and it's over everybody's head at the TCU 40-yard line. John Booty, number 11, was not fooled that time. The intended receiver was Jet Brown. And you see the arm on Mark Davis. This young man is small in stature, but he can throw.
Yes, he can. He threw that one well over the head of the receiver. But again, the man was covered. Davis dumped the ball long. It sets up what for the Veer, though, is a very uncomfortable situation.
Third down and 6. Sometimes you look for the tight end on a quick pass, Edward Thomas. We'll wait and see this time just how the Cougars utilize it. They need 6 yards. On the rollout, Mark Davis. Oh, big rush by TCU, and he throws it away. And here comes the flag, and rightfully so. Ron Lewis had him wrapped up for TCU, and Mark Davis intentionally grounded the football.
This is just a terrible decision by Mark Davis.
You just got to eat it right here, don't you?
That's right. Look at this. Look at this. Hey, and bad hands on the official, too. We should point that out.
So young Simon Rodriguez will be back in his end zone to punt this time, and Mark Davis, the junior out of Dallas, South Oak Cliff, will probably get a stern lecture from Bill Yeoman when he hits the sideline. There's Rodriguez, freshman walk-on. And it's off the side of his foot. Won't be a very good punt. It goes out of bounds at about the Cougar 46-yard line. So great field position for TCU. This telecast is authorized under rights granted to Home Sports Entertainment and is intended solely for the non-commercial use of our viewing audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of Home Sports Entertainment is prohibited. Announcers for this telecast are selected and employed by Home Sports Entertainment.
Here's where the Houston offense gets the Houston defense in trouble. Teams have only scored 6 touchdowns this year when they've had to drive 55 or more yards, but they've gotten 9 touchdowns when they've started as close as 50 yards to the Houston goal line, and here we are again, Bill.
Yeah, that's a good point. That punt traveled only 30 yards by Simon Rodriguez, and he was in a hole to start with. So now TCU on Houston's 41-yard line, 2:16 left to play in the first quarter. We have no score, but TCU in a good place right here. Now somebody moved for TCU, but it was a receiver, so there will be no flag on the play, and Jeffrey will gain about 5 yards. I think one of the tight ends moved for TCU.
But Bill, the rule is you've got to be set 1 full second before the ball is snapped, and that tight end did not appear to be set that second before the snap of the ball.
I think it was Gary Ford, number 96. Watch it at the top of your screen now. Watch him move. See?
Now he moves. Is he set before the snap of the ball? Oh, we got to continue it. Got to roll the tape.
Well, you know, if you're...
No, heavens, no. He's still moving when the ball is snapped.
Now, if you're the Cougar, you should have come across the line of scrimmage and made contact with him, but he didn't. He was asleep on the play. Good defense. Look at the move by number 1, Randy Thornton, as he came up quickly and made the defensive play on TCU.
You know, I'm not well versed enough at watching the Veer as Bill Yeoman and Jim Wacker are. But you could tell something was wrong with that play when it started.
Yeah, it was just too slow developing, wasn't it?
Yeah, the receiver of the pitch was in the wrong spot or something.
Or something. Reggie Davis comes into the game now. Jared Delaney will be the wide receiver at the top of your screen. It's 3rd down and 8, a loss of 5 on the last play. Let's see what Rasco does. Here comes the blitz by one of the Cougars, and Thornton, the fumble, and Houston has it at midfield. Oh, what a hit by Randy Thornton. And covering it for Houston is number 24, Derek Hoskins. Oh, what a hit on David Rasco.
What an admirable defense this team has. And this defense basically has not quit all year. Now, the first rusher misses him, but Thornton just levels him.
You know, a lot of people have been wondering where Randy Thornton has been. You know, when he came over and started as a freshman for Houston in the Cotton Bowl, they heralded him as one of the great newcomers in the Southwest Conference, and he's more or less disappeared the last couple of years.
And I wouldn't doubt that David Rasco is wondering where he is right now, because Thornton really nailed it.
Boy, he did. Put all 212 pounds right into Rasco's back, and now the Cougars will have it. At midfield, with 1 minute left to play in the first quarter, Mark Davis wants to go upstairs. Looking long, he's got Jet Brown, and it's just overthrown at the TCU 10-yard line. Oh, Jet Brown had a step on the TCU defender. Joe Johnson, Tony Brooks were both down there.
The Jets got a step behind. This ball is well thrown, by the way. You got to give Davis credit, because this ball is thrown almost perfectly. It's over the defender and just barely over the hands of Brown.
Brown so far this year has caught 17 passes to lead the Cougars for 220 yards. Second down and 10. Davis will go upstairs again. He's got LeBlanc open at the 39-yard line. Correction. That was Mike Rhodes, number 86, out of Houston Aldine. Tony Brooks defending, but Rhodes just dropped the football.
Davis had it. Would have been a first down inside the 40. Meanwhile, on the other side of the field, it's got to be killing Jim Wacker. He had the ball inside the 25, didn't get points. He had a first down at the Houston 40, didn't get points. You don't get that many opportunities against a good defensive team.
No, you don't. Third down and 10 now for Mark Davis. Let's see what the call is by Bill Yeoman. Jet Brown comes in motion. Outside should be pass interference. I see nothing. And the ruling must be that he overthrew it. Boy, Mark Davis wants interference. Tony Brooks came right through the Cougar receiver that time.
I can't believe that an official did not see this play.
Well, he was right on it. Watch it again. You be the judge at home. You be the official.
Look at this.
Well, I don't know whether he could have caught it.
Cow. Yeah, but mugging a wide receiver is penalizable.
Good kick this time by Rodriguez, and it goes back inside the 5 and into the TCU end zone. Touchback, and the Horned Frogs will have it at the 20-yard line. Much better kick that time by Simon Rodriguez, and it traveled 50 yards, and Bill Yeoman gives him a little pat on the rear end that time. There's some of the TCU band. The remaining Houston schedule now, the University of Texas coming up on November the 8th, then the Red Raiders. Boy, the Raiders just eked one out over the Longhorns this afternoon, and then Rice for the Bayou Bucket at the end of the season. Boy, A&M had to run for its life against SMU, huh?
Yeah, they did, but that puts A&M in the driver's seat in the conference after the 39-35 win today. And don't look now, but Texas Tech is thinking bold.
Yep, 24-21 today. And there may be a few more second guessers for Fred Akers.
No, 23-21.
23-21, that's right. And Texas had the football in Jeff Ward territory and couldn't get the kickoff. Power up the middle for TCU. Fumble again. The Cougars say they have it. Let's see. The ball is at the 20. Yes, getting up with the football is Gary McManus. Will they rule he's down? I think the officials are ruling that the fumble was caused by the AstroTurf. Robert Harper made the hit. Well, this is a chance to be the referee again. Did the field of play cause the fumble? There's the hit by Harper, and no.
It's gone.
Nope, that's a fumble.
It's gone. The officials missed. In fact, the officials have missed 2 in a row now against Houston. They missed the interference, and they missed this. As you can see, this ball's gone.
He may have been on his knee, though.
The left knee may have been down. You're right. The left knee may well have been down.
Well, we'll return to the Astrodome in Houston right after this break for your local stations. That's the end of the first quarter, and you're watching Southwest Conference football on Home Sports Entertainment. Here's on the sidelines tonight. In this series, the Cougars have, well, I can put it easier the other way. TCU has only won 1 of the 11 games between these two clubs, and that came 2 seasons ago right here in the Dome.
And Houston keeps up their record this season. This is now 8 first quarters without allowing a touchdown. They've allowed only 8 points in the first quarter this year. In fact, when you think about it, the defense has only allowed 6. The offense gave Arizona 2 on a safety.
Cougar cheerleaders whooping it up, and that's pretty tough to do right now. And not a lot of folks here in this dome tonight.
Would you want your mascot to wear 00? I'd want him to wear like 35 or 42. Or
That's right. Think big, right?
That's right. Think big offensively.
Second down, 6 needed. Handoff to Davis across the 25 to about the 26. David Bearden, the 6'1", 194-pound sophomore out of Houston Sterling, in on the tackle for the Cougars.
You know, the Cougars really have some tiny people playing in their offense and defense by today's college standards.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bearden, they call him the drop-in because he covers on a lot of pass plays. But McManus at 200 and 24 pounds? There's McGuire, last week's statistic. Third down and 4 for the Frogs. Full house backfield. Pitch back. Oh, they had trouble with it. Davis can't find the handle, and yet does finally, and gets out of bounds. Gary McGuire forced him out of bounds, and boy, Rasco really surprised him. Flipped it a little high that time, and I don't think Bobby could get a handle on it.
TCU stared disaster right in the face right here. Davis boots it, gets a wonderful bounce. Oh.
You know, it can bounce up nicely for you on AstroTurf, or that football can take all kinds of crazy bounces. Chris Becker out of Taylor, Texas, will be punting for TCU. A low one, and Crenshaw rules for the fair catch. And I guess it's because the Cougars may have had a block on. There were a lot of TCU jerseys coming away, and Chris Becker with a nice punt for TCU. So the Cougars will be back in their own territory trying to get some offense generated now from Mark Davis.
Well, Bill, taking up for Crenshaw, if you had the rush on and 7 guys were coming down, you had no blockers, you'd go fair catch too.
Well, Bill Yeoman's gone to his bullpen. Gerald Landry, who is just a few yards away from a whole ashel of Southwest Conference and Cougar records, if he could just get started. He's been the mystery man for the last 4 years at the University of Houston. They thought after his freshman year that he was going to be the #1 quarterback for years to come in the Southwest Conference, and he just never quite has made it. The silent one, Gerald Landry. So he's at quarterback. And he runs right. He's got good quickness. And he's knocked out of bounds at the Cougar 37-yard line. Garland Little knocked him out.
Gerald Landry really is an enigma. He's got wonderful athletic ability, but he's never quite come on to be the leader of the offense that you'd expect your quarterback to be. He'll have some terrific weeks, and then other weeks he won't be so good. He wasn't even supposed to play tonight, we were told, because of a hemorrhaged thigh.
Yeah, he's been in and out of Bill Yeoman's lineup. In fact, Yeoman's been forced to use 5 different backfield combinations this year because of injuries.
He can throw the ball, though.
Yeah, he's got a good arm, and he's got great foot speed. And
nice.
Landry, with a nice cut, gets up across the 40, just shy of the Cougar 45-yard line. Kevin Dean was in along with Mitchell Benson.
That short side option looked to be going nowhere, and Landry squeezed about 5 out of the play.
Landry, of course, with all of the injuries this season, is 6th on the all-time Southwest Conference total offense list with 5,493 yards. He only needs 52 yards to pass Ron Reeves to go 5th on the list. Third down, Cougars need 1. That's Thomas in motion. Handoff to Stankus, and he's got the first down. Kevin Dean makes the hit.
If it's one thing Houston has established in the game so far, it's that on straight power, they can get 3 or 4 yards.
I think Ted Unbehagen has done an excellent job with this young offensive line, Norm. He's trying to keep them, their pads level and low to the AstroTurf because they're not very big. The only big one on there is William Gant, and boy, he is a load at 281 pounds, the right guard, and you notice that's who they went over that time. This time they go to Sloan Hood, and he crosses into TCU territory, a gain of about 4.
But again, see, that doesn't look like much of a play. But, Bill, it's almost 5 when you eyeball the spot now. It's a simple dive, but that small offensive line still fired out well enough so Hood was 2 yards before he got hit.
Back in the glory days of the Beer, Bill Yeoman would always get 4 or 5 on first down, and of course that keeps the chains moving. Thomas again in motion.
Straight power again.
There's Stankus with good running lean as he gets inside the TCU 45. Mitchell Benson, Ron Lewis on the tackle. Of course, when you go back to the glory days in 76, 77, 78, there was a young man there by the name of Danny Davis who probably ran it as good as anybody can run the Beer for Bill Yeoman.
If only Mark Davis had inherited some of those qualities. Mark's a good player, but there are very few Danny Davises running around.
No, along with athletic ability, Norm, he had the brain power, too. He was a great, great quarterback.
Straight power? No.
Oh, TCU guessed right this time. Good play on the defense. Number 39, Scott Harris.
I don't understand, Bill. It's 3rd and 2, and straight power's gotten them 3 or 4 every play. I don't understand why Nest pounded at him again.
Another second guess, and Simon Rodriguez back on his own 40-yard line. Tony Brooks backbeat for TCU. End over end kick. This one could be killed down low. It takes a TCU bounce, and it's killed at about the 11-yard line. So a pretty good punt by Rodriguez as the Cougars have TCU backed up in its own territory. We'll return to the Astrodome right after this break from your local stations. You're watching Southwest Conference football on Home Sports Entertainment. The remaining schedule for the TCU Horned Frogs, Texas Tech on November the 8th, then the University of Texas and Texas A&M. So it doesn't look up from here for Jim Wacker and the guys. There's Bobby Davis with a good hole up the middle, and he scampers across the 20 to about the 21-yard line. Davis out of Greenville. McGuire and Harper on the tackle.
TCU's had a funny season for handling the football. The first 12 quarters of the season, they lost no fumbles. The last 21 quarters, they've lost 12 fumbles.
Good blocking in there that time by Brian Brazel and Clint Haley. Brazel out of Pasadena Rayburn. 2nd down and 3 for TCU. First man through again gets the football, and right there to tackle him is Gary McGuire for Houston. Well, you can keep an eye, Norm. If you don't know anything about football, if you just watch 51 and 50 in those red jerseys, you'll always know where the football is.
Well, so often you think of the defense chasing the ball. Funny how the ball almost always winds up coming to Harper or McGuire, doesn't it?
Like a magnet.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of the UH defense is predicated on the fact of freeing those two guys up so that they can make the tackle. 1st down and 10 now. In motion goes Tatum, and again Bobby Davis scampers to about the 27-yard line, a gain of about 2. Keith Jenkins was in there for Houston.
Good job by TCU here. That was a dangerous area. They took the ball, and after mishandling it a couple of times in the last few possessions, that was a big danger area, but they've wedged it out. Now they got it over the 25. They got a nice drive started, and they got a nice first down gain.
2nd down, 5 needed for TCU.
Option this way.
And they give it to the first man through, and that's Roscoe Tatum. And boy, he rumbles out across the 40 to the 42 before Orsby Crenshaw and Robert Jones can bring him down. And this is a healthy young man here at 207 pounds.
Look at where the right back is lined up, though. He was telling Houston it was going to come to the right. The right back for TCU, Bobby Davis, was lined up about a step closer to the line of scrimmage so he could get a blocking angle.
Well, nobody for Houston read it, obviously. Ball on the 41-yard line. 1st and 10, 9:38 left to play, 2nd quarter. Again, it's Tatum, and big, strong running, and he gets up and fumbles, but he had hit the AstroTurf, so it'll be a gain of about 10, and the ball crosses into Houston territory before Derek Hoskins can bring him down. Boy, this Tatum is a big bull out of Carthage, isn't he?
Yes, he is, and TCU may get a big break here. This may not be a first down. 2nd and a foot is a down you love, because you can try all sorts of fancy stuff.
And they've got the ability with Jared Delaney. Good speed. Reggie Davis. And that's what it'll be, Norm. So Now you play a little chess game, both coaches.
What you don't want to do is lose yardage, obviously, because you've got a situation where you can use almost any running play and get that much. But if you want to try to fool with something here.
Well, offensive coordinator Bill Thornton for TCU, you got any tendencies on him this year?
Well, they'll probably play it straight. They want to keep the chains moving.
Well, they've got the wishbone.
Yep.
And it's in the backfield and a big hole over left tackle. And scampering in there is Tony Darthard before Gary McGuire can stop him. That was a gain of 6 on the play and an easy first down for TCU. And boy, that time they went right over Dennis Gooch and Mike Bula.
What's happening here is Houston is so quick and flows with the ball so well that the option hasn't worked. But a little deception here works. They pivot back away from the flow of the offensive line, and the left side of the TCU line blew open a hole in the Houston defense.
Yeah, that was W.C. Nix and Bula and Gooch. And here comes David Rasco, and he's running out of room, and he gets to the sideline inside the Cougar 40-yard line before he's run out of bounds. A gain of about 7. Gary McGuire, Orsby Crenshaw running out of bounds.
Nice gain for Rasco, though. He did the proper thing. What happened was they had double coverage on Delaney downfield, and well, Bill Yeoman didn't like it.
Well, he turned the offensive reins over to Larry Zerline this year and said Bill wanted to concentrate a little more on defense and have a little more input in the Cougar defense. I think it certainly has helped as far defensive-wise goes. 2nd down and 4 needed. That's Jared Delaney in motion. First man through again is Darthard. And boy, they are trapping Houston inside very effectively. Tyrone Jones, Gary McGuire on the tackle.
This is the 3rd time TCU's been inside the Houston 40.
And McGuire and Harper will go to the sideline for Houston.
McGuire and Harper out. Andy Sexton is in at one linebacker spot.
Tyrone Jones at the other. First down and 10. Ball at the Houston 32-yard line. First man through, and boy, he is hit hard. That's Roscoe Tatum. Andy Sexton made the hit. He's a 6-footer, 195-pound sophomore out of Kingwood, just north of Houston. So Bill Yeoman shuttling in some fresh troops on the defense. Clock ticking off at 8:10 now left in the second quarter.
He gave Brazina and Montgomery a little bit of a blow. They're both back in the game. He'll probably get Harper and McGuire back in after another play.
Hand off again to Darthard, and again that same spot inside the Houston 25-yard line. Nice gain before Robert Jones comes up from his free safety spot, but they are really working on the Houston right side.
The left side of the TCU line doing a really nice job in there.
But you know, that Gooch is no small body at 6'5", 278 pounds.
No small body at all.
Bula at 267, Nix at 270. Brazel at 275. Here they come on a little reverse play. And a nice move by Reggie Davis. Randy Thornton trips him up. He could have gotten a lot more.
That was a cute little tight end reverse. What they'll do is they'll bring the wingback. See, the wingback Davis starts around. That's a very tight formation. Usually you think of reverses as big, wide swinging plays, and this one's very, very tight.
Well, a timeout is taken on the field by the University of Houston. And so Reggie Davis comes to the sideline to talk it over with the Jim Wacker and the troops, David Rasco. Davis is a nice physical specimen, too, at 6'2", 222. Let's talk a little bit as we look at Wacker and Rasco. What a nice job this sophomore out of Houston Westchester has done with the offense this year, David Rasco.
Well, he's done it under trying times. You know, the hard thing for Rasco to live with is the idea that he's not the chosen quarterback here. That's supposed to be Scott Ankrum. In fact, if Ronald Giles were healthy, they may well have preferred Ronald Giles as the quarterback on this team. Rasco does not have the speed of those others. He doesn't have the big arm. But technically, he's a very fine quarterback who's done a good job under trying circumstances.
There's Tony Jeffrey, and we just got that picture of him with the ice wrapped around his shoulder on the sideline. So that's why you haven't been seeing him run with the ball. Tatum and Jeffrey both with 32 yards rushing in this game.
Tony does look finished for the night, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would say so.
He just was held to his collegiate low last week of 31 yards, 32 this week. And he might be finished for the evening.
Bill Yeoman does it quite often. He'll call a timeout to rest his defense and get their heads together. First down and 10 now. The ball on the Houston 18-yard line. Montgomery back in the game at middle guard for Houston. Rasco on the keeper. Oh, what a nice athletic move by David Rasco as he jumped over two Cougars and landed inside the 10-yard line. Robert Harper made the finishing tackle.
Here's your option on the veer, and you'll see it well. First, the fake to the up man. He's got the option. He reads. That's clogged up. He looks. Is the end kicked out? Yes, he is. So he turns up inside of him, hurdles a blocker, puts his head down, and gets right at 10. Is it a first down or isn't it? It is short. Boy, that's another big break for TCU. Because if that were a first down, it had been first and goal from the 8.5. Now, if they get 2 or 3 yards on this play, it's first and goal from the 5, basically. Or, Bill, look out here. They'll often go to a double tight end offense and throw out of this situation. They've done it earlier this season for a touchdown.
All right, we'll watch for it. Second down and 1 to go. This is the deepest penetration by either team in this game. And we've got 7:15 left to play in the first half. Hand off to Bobby Davis, and he's at the 5, and that will be the necessary yardage for a TCU first down. Anthony Young for Houston made the tackle.
But again, notice the advantage of not getting the first down there for TCU. Instead of first and goal from the 8.5, it's now first and goal from the 5.
I apologize to the fans. That was Roscoe Tatum, number 33, not Davis that time. And Mark Tips, number 25, checks in for Tatum in the backfield. First down and goal to go from the 5. Here's a pitch back and touchdown. TCU, number 31, Tony Darther. Boy, Norm, Mark Tips, number 25, the youngster out of Grand Prairie, really made a block on this play.
Nothing fancy at all about this touchdown call. This is old-fashioned power football. Watch Tips lead block here. Cruncher knocks Thornton off his feet right at the goal line.
So kicking will be Lee Newman, and he is perfect. He's 22 out of 22, make it 23 out of 23 on the season. And finally, we've got a score. As with 6:52 left to play, TCU leads Houston 7-0 on Home Sports Entertainment. DY-TV in San Angelo and KASK-TV in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We hope you're enjoying tonight's game on HSE. So a fine drive that time by TCU.
87 yards. That's only the 4th time that someone has gone 80 yards or more against Houston this year.
Back deep for Houston will be Vernell Ramsey and Paul Smith. And it will come to Ramsey at about the 3-yard line. Another submarine play by number 72, Gantz. Cliff Gant. And boy, he's a big one at 6'3", 248. He moves pretty well.
How did he get down the field that quick?
I don't know. I think that's what Vernell Ramsey is asking.
Vernell didn't do himself much good. He misjudged the kickoff and had to leap and catch it at the last second. That cost him at least a step. He might have been able to avoid Gant.
Gerald Landry, again, the quarterback for Houston. Sloan Hood will be in the backfield. And it looks like we've got another back in there, and we'll get his number for you in just a moment. And Hood that time was caved in, a gain of about only 2.
This is a whopper for TCU. Dean, who leaps in 97 on top of the pile after all. I bet you there's over 1,000 pounds on Sloan Hood there.
Second down, 8 to go. Landry looking across the middle. He has his receiver, and it's good for over 10 yards. Nice catch by Mike Rhodes. Tony Brooks defending. Nice little up and in, and he delivered it well.
Nice to see Rhodes make this catch because he had a drop earlier that cost Houston precious position on the field. This is a play you can run very well out of the veer because as your linebackers get sucked up by the running fake, the short zones are wide open. You don't have to throw through anybody or over somebody. They take themselves out of the play.
Matt Pearson and Sloan Hood in the backfield for Houston. Here comes Landry. He's got a pitch man if he wants him, but he cuts it up himself and gains about 4. John Booty was out there along with Scott Harris.
Here's another look at the way Houston runs it. Now, first you got to fake to the up back. No. They ran a little wide here. The up back never took the fake. He simply blocked down here. That's another option here. Now he's got the back out there, but see, the back should be leading him more to the outside here. Landry recognizes that and says, hey, the only way we're going to make anything here is if I run the ball.
That's Matt Pearson from Oklahoma, a senior. And second down, and the Cougars need 5. Sloan Hood again with good running, and he falls into TCU territory, and that's enough for a Houston first down.
You know what I love, Bill? I love 2 Veer teams playing each other because Houston just stood there and watched TCU run about 8,800 plays and march for a touchdown, and they said, why don't we go to our reverse pivot and go to the backside on our offense a little bit, and boom, and it works for them.
You know, one mistake on a Veer team, and boom, it's 6 points.
Very quick hitting offense.
First and 10, ball at the 49 of TCU, 4:50 left to play in the first half of play, and this time it's Matt Pearson and a gain of only about 2. David Caldwell, a 6'2", 270-pound senior out of San Antonio on the bottom of that TCU pile.
Landry looked a little disgusted with himself. I think he realizes he may have made the wrong choice there on the option. That play may be designed that way, but he might have seen a lot more daylight outside after he handed the ball off.
Kevin Dean looks a little shaken. He comes to the sidelines. John Dull, he was holding his left arm. Kevin Dean was.
Yeah, he's had a bad shoulder.
2nd and 8. Sprint out by Landry. He's in trouble right away. Dull made the play on it. John Dull was coming. He's a freshman out of Houston Northbrook, along with Scott Harris, and they really pressured Landry into making a decision a little too early.
I really don't understand here. This is the 4th time tonight Houston's run a sprint out to the short side of the field on either the option or the throw. And what it does for you is the sideline becomes a 12th defender for TCU.
There's John Dull. He's not dull by any means, if you ask Landry. 3rd and 10 now for Houston.
Now it's predictable they go to the wide side of the field.
And here they come. He's looking for LeBlanc, and he's got him. Could have big yardage. The defensive man fell down at the 32-yard line. Tony Brooks was the defender, and just as the ball was delivered by Landry, Brooks fell down.
TCU really fortunate this wasn't a touchdown. Really fortunate that Brooks got up after he fell down, quite frankly. Because watch the effort Brooks makes to get up and still get LeBlanc.
Dwayne LeBlanc.
That was a neat play by Brooks, I thought. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good athleticism.
Well, the tendency is to lay there on the ground and say, woe is me, woe is me.
The ball now at the TCU 31-yard line. And again, it's Matt Pearson, and he's going nowhere fast. Ron Lewis, number 81, Joe Johnson, number 2, were in there for TCU. Pearson is a 5'10", 200-pounder out of Oklahoma. John Stankus now will bring in the play, and Pearson will leave the game.
One of the things the Veer depends on is making 4 or 5 yards on first down. They do not like 2nd and long or 3rd and long situations.
Well, they've got a 2nd and 9 right now. Landry looking for the quick play over the middle. He had Jet Brown at the 15-yard line. It was thrown behind him a little bit, and John Booty was right there along with Billy Jones.
You know, there's a companion play to this one, and it's that you arm pump this ball, and then the receiver goes long. Landry almost drops the snap from center. He's got Brown. He throws it way behind him. Tell you what, if the ball was well thrown, Brown's got a first down inside the 20.
Yes, he does. He may have had more. And it'll bring up another 3rd and long, 3rd and 9 for Gerald Landry if he wants to keep this Houston drive going. 3:16 left to play in the first half. TCU leads Houston 7-0. Split backfield Cougars. Landry straight back. Plenty of time. He delivers, and he's got his man inside the 20. And that should be the necessary yardage for a first down. Good catch by Everett Jet Brown, the 180-pound sophomore out of Victoria. Good speed by Jet.
Boy, but what a nice catch. This ball is not well thrown at all. Take a look at the move that Jet Brown has to make to catch the ball.
Well, it's a timing play, and he found a little seam in that zone, didn't he?
Yeah, but the ball was thrown way behind Jet, who had to go to his knees and pivot backwards and catch the ball as he's coming down.
He's been a pleasant surprise for Bill Yeoman this year. That's Everett Thomas in motion. And they hand it again to the lead man through. That's Matt Pearson. And he gains only a couple, down to about the 16. 2:38 left to play now.
Tom Miller, the defensive coordinator for TCU, obviously has made some adjustments in his line play because they're shutting off the power now, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Kevin Dean is checked back into the TCU lineup. Well, he had to. They were making too much on first down. They were giving up too much to Houston. The Cougars, however, couldn't take out any opportunities that were given to them by TCU, and it'll be 2nd and 9 now with 2:12. And counting down, left to play in the first half. Cougars trying to tie this one up. Pitch out to Sloan Hood. Look at the great play made on the outside by Tony Brooks. Oh, he just wouldn't be blocked on the play.
Houston had leverage on the outside. If Rhodes could have gotten the block on Brooks, this play goes a long way, maybe 6. Because, see, the back's in the right position now. See, the back's got the lead, and he turns that corner and gets inside the 15. But Brooks makes the fine play against the attempted block of Rhodes.
Well, Gerald Landry has come up with 2 key 3rd down passes to keep this drive alive. Here is another one, 3rd down and 9. The ball at the TCU 17-yard line.
Remember, he's an excellent scrambler also.
And he throws another wounded duck.
Oh.
That looked like quail season got started late.
Tell you what, if that was a quail, it's not going to last long during the season, Bill.
You could bring that one down with a 22. Well, Jet Brown had the move to the outside, and Chip Browndyke now will be in. And, you know, we were talking about Chip Browndyke as you see this play again, Norm.
You know, he's got the receiver, though.
Yep.
Jet Brown's open.
Yep. Just didn't hit him. Here's Browndyke now, who's almost automatic from this range.
Yeah, he's never missed. He's had one block from this range. He's never missed in his collegiate career from inside 45. It's a way it should be good.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
We jinxed him.
There you go.
Well, it was a 34-yard attempt by Chip Browndyke, who is 6 of 9 this year in field goals coming in. The youngster out of Dallas Hillcrest, and he shanked it off to the left this time. Watch this reaction of Chip Browndyke.
When you only play 15 seconds a game. Thank you for the signal there.
Well, HSE has Southwest Conference football for you every Saturday this fall on same-day delayed basis. And our next game will be coming your way Saturday night, November 8th from Memorial Stadium in Austin. That features Fred Akers' Texas Longhorns against the Houston Cougars. Last year, tailback Charles Hunter rushed for 187 yards against the Cougs as the Longhorns coasted to a 34-24 victory. That game was in the Dome. So you won't want to miss any of this year's action Saturday night at 10:30 on HSE, where the tradition continues.
Would it surprise you if TCU did anything but run the ball here? Oh, my.
And just as he says that, David Rasco throws it right to Bobby Davis, and he couldn't hold on.
I don't understand. TCU gets the ball to start the second half. I mean, Houston got the ball to start the game. So TCU gets it to start the second half. You make a mistake down here, and TCU is not a team terribly comfortable with throwing the ball.
You know, I was just thinking of something on that Browndyke miss.
Yeah.
Hasn't been a good day for the Browndyke family.
No, his brother Dave missed one that could have won the LSU game. Mississippi upset him.
Here's a good play right through the middle again. Bobby Davis, number 22, slashing over blocks by Dennis Gooch and Mike Bula. Derek Hoskins brings him down, but TCU has obviously discovered a weakness on that U of H right side, and they have really run through there for big yardage.
Or they've discovered a strength in their own team, perhaps, Bill. Perhaps they've decided, hey, our 2 people on that side can handle your 2 people on that side, just flat out.
That's right. 48 seconds, 47 and counting down here in the first half. Again, a gaping hole up the Cougar middle, and that's Bobby Davis running for big yardage before Gary McGuire makes the tackle.
TCU,
another TCU first down.
And they have a full complement of timeouts. But this left side of the line, for TCU, the blockers there are Gooch, and they don't list a 69, Bill. Do you have a 69 for TCU?
WC Nix.
He's not on my roster.
Well, he's been playing everywhere tonight. Maybe that's because they've got 3 different positions for him.
My flip card lists him as 59.
I've got him as 69. And Rasco tried to pass, and it was not complete, and it'll bring up second down.
Well, no wonder they're running over left guard then.
He has been switching around at center and left guard, along with Nix has been playing in place of Jess Williams. Brian Brazel, number 73. Did you see him a moment ago on that run by Davis? He was running in front of Davis. There he is, W.C. Nix the third. And he wants everyone to know that WC doesn't stand for anything but WC.
We're wrong there. That's a wrong graphic. No periods.
No period.
No periods in his name. It's WC.
Second down, 10 to go. David Rasco is going to flip it up to Davis. He couldn't hold on to it. Do you think he heard footsteps that time? Maybe Anthony Young was creeping up on Bobby Davis.
Could we get a shot at W.C. Nix again, the back of his jersey?
He's going to be
69 there. Now, W.C. has got periods on his jersey, but he says there's no periods in his name.
Well, maybe he hasn't told the team manager. 19 seconds left to play, and that time the Cougars shut that run down in the middle.
Yeah, but Bill, let's face it, one of the easiest things in life to do is to take the 2 periods off the back of a football jersey.
Not if you're not used to it.
Maybe they don't have a period remover.
We're about at the end of the second period. Thank goodness, with 8 seconds to go. There's Ben Hurt as a timeout has been called by TCU, and Bill Yeoman in his 25th year at the University of Houston, and that's the longest tenure that any coach in the nation has been at one school in Division 1A, and he's 5th on the active 1A coaches list in winning percentage.
When Bill Yeoman took over as the head coach at Houston, JFK was president. Iran was a friend. China was an enemy. Vietnam, Grenada, the Falklands, and Afghanistan were nice places to visit, but hard to get to.
And I was a freshman.
Were you really?
Yes.
That is a long time.
It really is. Now, when you put that into proper perspective, you're right. U of H had called that timeout. They want to try to block the kick, and getting it off is Chris Becker, and Orsby Crenshaw will let the ball hit back on the 30-yard line, and that will be the end of the first half of play. And we'll return to the Astrodome in Houston right after this break by your local stations. TCU wins the first half 7-0. And the TCU Horned Frogs on the only sustained drive of the night. An 87-yarder coming in the second quarter, and TCU leads Houston 7-0.
Should there be periods in there?
For TCU, there should be.
Okay, just wondering. Want to bring that up again. Interesting first half in that each team had opportunities.
Yeah, they really did. Houston had it early behind Mark Davis, and then Bill Yeoman went to Gerald Landry.
And each quarterback got him inside the TCU 30-yard line, but they have no points. Browndyke with a very, very rare miss.
Down department, just about even. Yards rushing, a big edge to TCU. All of that coming in that second quarter, a lot of that second quarter drive, and not much in the passing department for either team. And it's pretty even.
But U of H's offense seemed to perk up a little bit when Landry came in about the midway point of the first half. But quite honestly, TCU, on the strength of being able to make one good long drive without mistakes, deserves to lead the football game.
Boy, that a horned frog is an ugly-looking creature, isn't he? But he's not. He has to look pretty good right now to TCU backers. David Rasco, the youngster from Houston, Westchester. And you see his stats on the night. Houston area fans will, of course, remember the combination several years ago of Ronnie Giles to Jared Delaney over at Houston-Madison High School, and they kind of have dreams of that in Fort Worth, I think, pretty soon.
Well, Giles broke his arm in the spring and was just cleared to play in October of this year.
Tony Brooks and Reggie Davis back deep. Chip Browndyke will kick it off to start the second half for Houston. Davis will be one of your bigger return men, and it's kicked up to the short man and taken at the 25. Back 30, fumble in the air, and it's live. I think Houston has it. Let's see.
Did it go out of bounds?
It may have. Well, the defense coming on the field, so TCU gets the break. Let's watch the up man. He's not used to carrying that ball very much.
That's Llewellyn. It bounces. TCU's got a shot. It's fumbled. Where did it go? I think TCU got it back, Phil.
I think they did. It stayed in play. And great field position for the Horned Frogs as they'll have the ball on their own 38-yard line. And a handoff again to Darthard, and here they go. It's no trickery at all. They're going right over W.C. Nix and Dennis Gooch. Johnny Norwood made the tackle for Houston. Look at that big Nix, will you? 6'9", 270 pounds. Out of Garland, he went to Wiley High School.
You'll see it. That's Nix sealing off the inside. And good power running by the back, 7 yards.
Second down, 3 needed. Rasco comes out on the option. And he keeps it. He'll be close for the necessary yardage for the first down. David Bearden and Johnny Norwood did a good job for Houston that time, and it'll be close for a measurement.
Lest people think we're joshing about this W.C. Nix thing, Bill, I'm quoting from the TCU press book. Remember, that's with no punctuation after the initials.
Well, I don't think Bill Yeoman's concerned about that right now.
No. Tell you what, WC has made a couple of punctuating blocks in this game so far.
He really has. It'll be third and a short one needed. Darthard with a pitch back, and he'll get the first down as he crosses the 50-yard line. Knocked out by Gary McGuire, number 51. So with Tony Jeffrey on the bench, in case you joined us late, he went out early, and his shoulder looked like he had a knockdown shoulder. They had ice on his shoulder. We won't see Jeffrey anymore tonight, but we'll see a lot of Tony Darthard, Bobby Davis, and Roscoe Tatum, along with Mark Tipps. There you see the numbers on Darthard tonight. Wishbone backfield. Darthard gets the carry, and he's down to the Houston 45-yard line.
If everyone were healthy for TCU, Ankrum would be the quarterback, not Rasco. Bednarski would be the fullback, not the number of people we've seen there. The running backs would be Jeffrey and Palmer, both of whom are hurt. The tight end would be Stone, and he's hurt.
Well, those are all the what-ifs.
Whoops.
And that time, a great run up the middle. Could be 6, 20, 10. Touchdown, TCU, and big Roscoe Tatum. Oh, did he rumble. And watch the block by W.C. Nix.
This may be the ugliest looking Veer touchdown because Rasco collided with the runner as he was handing him the ball.
Well, it was effective. Lee Newman has been perfect on the year. Will try the extra point. High snap. Good hold. It's up, and it's good. And TCU now has taken a 14-0 lead over Houston with a quick strike by Roscoe Tatum. We'll return to the Astrodome in Houston right after this break on HSE. Roscoe Tatum, he has 81 yards on the game. This is a 45-yard scamper.
He had 5 yards rushing this season coming in.
Well, with Tony Jeffrey's injury, somebody else gets to shine for TCU, and tonight it's Roscoe Tatum and Tony Darthard. And the Horned Frog is pretty happy with the proceedings right now as TCU kicks it off. That's Houston down there, Vernell Ramsey, and he brings it across the 20 to about the 22. Good coverage by the special teams for TCU. So right now it's all TCU. The Houston Cougars really haven't been in this one since an early drive in the first quarter.
Now, if you say to yourself, golly, that Tatum looks fast. He was part of the 200-meter relay team that set the world's record. I don't mean college world's record. All-time, everybody. 4 guys that ever ran it.
And he weighs 207 pounds.
You don't think the pro scouts like the looks of him, do you?
Yeah. Mark Davis now is back into the game. Jet Brown in motion for Houston. The Cougars have a lot of making up to do here. Kevin Dean on the tackle for TCU. You know, as you see Mark Davis, whose brother Danny led the Cougars to 3 Cotton Bowls, it is amazing that this team 2 years ago faced Doug Flutie and Boston College in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, and right now, trying to avert another loss, the Cougars could end up in the cellar. As you look at the TCU scoring drive, 2nd down and 7. Quick pass out to the flat, and it was so high that Jet Brown had to go up for it. He lost his balance, but I think he got the necessary yardage. John Booty was there covering.
Got to call Jet Brown Pretzel Man. He's made a couple of really twisting catches this evening. He's made some nice catches in this game on some balls that were questionably thrown by both Davis and Landry.
Nice receiver for Houston. In fact, LeBlanc and Brown are very sure-handed. If you get the ball around them, they have a pretty good chance of grabbing it for you. 1st down and 10, ball at the Houston 34-yard line. Mark Davis on the option down the line. He spots a little hole and he moves up for about 3.
Bill, it's a little bit mystifying why Houston hasn't gone to work more on the TCU secondary. It is without question the weakest pass defense as a unit. That's not to pick on those 4 people, but the weakest in this conference. They allow 220 yards a game. That is by far the worst pass defense in the conference. They allow big plays. They allow 61% completion percentage.
Well, I don't think Bill Yeoman has the telephone set up here to our booth. He's not hearing your suggestions. Well, maybe he is. Mark Davis goes up high, and he's got his big tight end, and he's across into TCU territory. That's Edward Thomas, a 6'3", 217-pound freshman, but uh-oh, bring it back. It looks like there's a flag on the 32, and it could be holding against Houston.
No, it turns out somebody clobbered Davis after the throw, apparently. Now, it's right back where the quarterback was, so it's one or the other. It's holding or roughing. But Houston doesn't look terribly upset about it.
No, he's talking to Davis about it, so it must be against TCU.
This will be walked off after the play. Oh, no, that's not right. That's not right. You tack that onto the end of the play. That's a personal. Here we go.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Automatic 1st down.
Why isn't that tacked onto the end of the play?
I thought it was from where the hit was made.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is anytime a quarterback then throws a 20-yard pass, I can take out a tire iron and bust him in the face if they're going to let him do that.
Well, if the play would have been longer, then the Cougars would have taken the play, obviously. So Mark Davis back in the game. It occurred before. I guess the play was over. Davis hands it off to Sloan Hood. Did you see the fire out by the offensive line for Houston? Looks like now that penalty may have gotten them back in the game a little bit here.
Well, Houston desperately needs 7. Desperately needs 7. This game's out of reach if Houston doesn't start moving the ball right now.
This is a big drive for the Cougars, and they got 5 on 1st down. It'll be 2nd and 5 now. The ball on TCU's 42-yard line.
And you can forget 3s also. This has got to be a 7.
Oh, yeah. Stankus and Sloan Hood in the backfield behind Mark Davis. Down the line option, and it's a big bust through for Stankus. And he's inside the TCU 30. Belanda Newton made the last saving tackle for TCU, and watch the quick opener on the right side by William Gant. Good block by Gant.
Stankus has nice speed. He cuts it up inside. And really, he couldn't ever get a plant down to try to avoid the last tackler. But Houston now has it at the 30.
Look at that zone blocking by Houston. Good play by 55 Tim Britton, the center. William Gant, 65 at 281, and Joey Baines of Houston. John Stankus out of Hollywood, Florida. 1st and 10, ball at the 30 of TCU. Davis nowhere to go, so he does the smart thing. He cuts it up and gets about 3.
What a nice play by Davis. In fact, he's going to get the better part of 4 out of this one.
Yeah, you know, and coaches love quarterbacks that go north and south.
Uh-oh, looks like a knockdown shoulder for Lewis.
Yeah, Ron Lewis, the 240-pound sophomore out of Copperas Grove, is coming to the sidelines. And Darrell Davis will check in for Lewis. Boy, that AstroTurf is unforgiving. Very hard out there. 2nd down and 4. Thomas in motion.
Oh, illegal procedure, Houston.
There's no flag. He's got Jet Brown. Touchdown, Houston. Davis never saw the completion. He was flat on his back. But, Norm, you made an excellent observation. Edward Thomas came in motion, and he started towards the line of scrimmage, a la Canadian Football League, and there should have been a flag on the play.
It was, I mean, he starts toward the line of scrimmage a full count early. It's not close. He'd almost gotten squared up and turned upfield.
Boy, what a nice throw by Mark Davis and a nice catch by Jet Brown.
That's not to take anything away from the play. Davis, under heavy pressure, really did throw a good ball to Jet Brown.
And John Booty had him pretty well covered for TCU as Brown Dyke will try the extra point. It's up and good, so a very important touchdown for Houston, because once TCU got its 2nd touchdown, the Cougars had to come right back if they wanted to stay in the game, and they did. Let's watch it again, and watch Edward Thomas. Well, we won't get to see him. Now, we will get to see the touchdown.
Put right on the money by Davis.
Beautiful throw by Mark Davis and a catch by Jet Brown. 26-yard pass, and watch the shot Davis takes. He never sees the touchdown. Ooh, what a hit. Ooh. And believe it or not, that's where most quarterbacks end up after a touchdown completion.
Oh, we've suddenly got a nice rock'em sock'em football game going. 2 teams go up and down the field. That was an important drive for Houston.
It really was, and Brown Dyke will be kicking it off now, and back deep again be Tony Brooks. The Dallas Mavericks returned to the HSE airways Friday night. They won a convincing 103-77 victory over the Utah Jazz, and in that game, the Mavericks played very good defense and crashed the boards to completely shut Utah down. Their next challenge will be the Twin Towers of the Houston Rockets on Wednesday, November the 12th, and the viewers in the Dallas-Fort Worth markets will see that game live at 7:30. That's Mavericks basketball, Wednesday the 12th on HSE. Boy, they look good.
They looked very good last night.
And taking it will be Tony Brooks up across the 20. Pretty good coverage by Houston. He gets to the 23-yard line, does Brooks. So now let's see what the Houston defense can do about shutting down. And it looks like Brooks may have hurt his shoulder a little bit, the way he's carrying it.
Now that's trouble, because he's a starting defensive back. That's one of the reasons that coaches don't like to play starters as return men.
And behind him, you got Ricky Rougeley, who was hurt on the opening kickoff of the play. There it is, a quick strike.
Lots of 7s, eh? 7 plays, 77 yards for 7 points and 427.
And a 26-yard touchdown catch.
Bill, I swear to you, before this evening's over, Houston is going to stop a play over the left side of the TCU line.
Well, I don't know. I'll bet you $1 on that. They haven't done it yet. Haven't come close. A 4-yard gain for Roscoe Tatum. And for Houston, as we check along that front line, Robbie Brzezina is back into the game.
Same play, coming outside on his side.
Oh, what a great play by the cornerback for Houston, Johnny Jackson, number 10, as he came up to stop Darthard right in his tracks.
I win the buck, Bill. I told you they'd stop a play going left before the game was over.
But that wasn't really the same play. That's a little wide. Had he cut up, he may have made some yardage. But Jackson, with that great speed, came up and stopped Darthard for a loss on the play, and it's now 3rd down and 8 for TCU. This is a big defensive play for Houston.
Yes, it is. stop here, and they'd get the ball back probably around their 35 or 40 on an exchange of punts.
Rasco across the middle. It was tipped and caught by Jared Delaney at the 40-yard line. Delaney, the 6'2", 195-pound sophomore from Houston, made the catch. Gary McGuire and David Bearden made the tackle.
You're very right. Somebody did get a finger on that ball as it went over the line, but it didn't change direction at all.
And Delaney showed great concentration, didn't he? That looked like Brzezina got a hand on it. I think he did, Robbie Brzezina.
What bad luck for Houston.
And good luck if you're a TCU Horned Frog. First down and 10.
Because you know what, Bill? That ball's not complete if it's not tipped.
Might not be.
Because you take that much steam off the ball and hit the receiver right in the pattern. The timing was off on that ball if it interfered.
There's Tatum coming to the sideline. Derek Hoskins made the last tackle for Houston. He's an interesting story. Started out at Purdue, went to Michigan State, ended up at Houston. He's a junior. He has one more year of eligibility. Delaney breaks the wishbone, goes wide, and here's a handoff up the middle. And a gain of a couple. Tony Darthard again, stopped by Gary McGuire, along with David Bearden.
Look out here. What TCU is doing in this passing situation is lining up their best and most threatening wide receiver in a fullback slot and putting him in motion. Now they wing him out again. They put him out on the outside again.
Houston with the nickel backs in. Tyrone Jones, Andy Sexton in for the starting linebackers. Houston may be coming with a blitz. Rasco doesn't read it, or he read it, and Delaney didn't. But they didn't hook up. Robbie Wise was out there defending for Houston, so the Cougars hold him, and TCU will have to punt.
You know, that's a play that makes the quarterback look bad. But the receiver coming off the line of scrimmage is supposed to take a peek and see if there's a maximum blitz on and cut his pattern off at the first down stage.
Orsby Crenshaw back deep for Houston, standing on his 20-yard line. Chris Becker will be punting. He's back on his 30. Token rush by Houston. Crenshaw will have a chance to return this one at the 15, and he brings it right back to the 22. So good north-south running by little Orsby Crenshaw, who's at 5'8", 181 pounds. And I don't think Becker was really pleased with that punt.
Neither is the guy talking to him.
That's got to be the special teams coach, right?
Yes. Well, let's see what Houston can do. The last time they got it back, they took it the length of the field and put it in the end zone. And, you know, we've only had 8.5 minutes go here in the third period.
6:33 left to play. The Frogs with touchdowns in the second quarter and third quarter. Houston came right back with a touchdown in the third. Sloan Hood, Matt Pearson will be in the backfield now behind Mark Davis. A 41-yard punt a moment ago by Chris Becker, so it really wasn't that bad. He just didn't get the height on it he wanted.
You don't think the good teams are starting to get in gear at this time of the year, do you? A&M got 39, Miami 41, Michigan 68, Oklahoma 64, Nebraska 38, Alabama 38.
Tell you, SMU got 35 in that A&M game. Put a little scare in them. Davis being pursued. He's got to throw it quickly. Intercepted in a crowd. Joe Johnson for TCU, and it's back to Houston's 32-yard line. Well, you'll remember the last win, the only win in the series for TCU came 2 years ago when the Frogs intercepted 3 Cougar passes to win that game.
Now, Davis is supposed to elude this man. He's got a rusher, and if he steps aside and buys himself some time, he's got to be more mobile than the single rusher that TCU had coming at him.
Well, that was Sean Thomas I was talking about a couple of years ago, and now Joe Johnson has him an interception. And here goes Delaney in motion.
Whoops.
And it's a simple handoff, not so simple. Houston made it a little more difficult to have Robbie Brzezina with a tackle. Watch again now, Scott Harris pressure.
But again, I know it's making a difficult choice for Davis, but you got to make these choices. Avoid the man. Fake him up, move around him. He's the only man that's got pressure on you in that situation. Sometimes the quarterback's got to buy his own time for himself.
Good break for TCU now. Can they get points? Second down, 8 needed. Oh, wide open across the middle. Big number 98, Bill Tomini, the 240-pound tight end. David Bearden brings him down, but not before the Horned Frogs get another first down. And now they're inside Houston's 15-yard line. Was that Ford? Yes, it was. I'm sorry, I said Tomini. It was Gary Ford, number 96. Had a little trouble seeing the numbers.
Well, two huge guys, 96 and 98.
Yeah, they're both 240.
Yeah.
And they both play quite a bit in there. Rasco hands it off. Down in the bottom of the pile is Robert Jones for Houston.
It's another runner. Bradford carries for TCU there. Wow.
That's Pat Bradford, 194-pounder out of Houston.
Houston absolutely must keep this ball out of the end zone.
Second down, 5 needed. Oh, and nothing going right there. When Roscoe Tatum got the handoff from David Rasco, a couple of Cougars right there in the hole. Kevin Allen, number 92, was standing right in his path. Tatum comes out of the game, and it'll be third down, and TCU needs 5 from the Houston 9-yard line. 4:33 and counting down, left to play, third quarter. TCU leads by 7, trying to get some more. Delaney in motion. Straight drop back. Comes a big Cougar rush. Rasco had the screen he thought set up on the play, but there wasn't a back over there. Well, Kevin Allen really put a rush on David Rasco. Was it a screen, or was there anybody over there? I don't know.
Well, watch Brazel, the tackle, okay? He's out in the flats. He's going to block for somebody. And suddenly, Rasco says, here, you carry it. Look what Brazel said. I'm going to get down.
Well, Lee Newman will be attempting from the 16-yard line, tack on 10, a 26-yard attempt by Newman. Good leg speed on it, and it's true. And TCU gets 3 points out of the drive. And with 4:15 left to play in the third quarter, it's TCU 17, the University of Houston 7. Southwest Conference football continues on HSE right after this timeout. College football for you, featuring teams of the service academies. And next week we'll have a military showdown as the Falcons of the Air Force square off against the Army Cadets. Last year the Falcons routed the Cadets 45-7, but the Army has been tough at home this year, and it should be quite a game. That's live college football for you next Saturday at 12:30 on Home Sports Entertainment. Vernell Ramsey and Percy Hines will be back deep for Houston. And it will be Ramsey right at his 6-yard line. He let that ball bounce, and he got up to about the 27-yard line. So it should have been a very effective kick for TCU. So Lee Newman has done the job tonight. Coming into the game, Newman only 5'6", 158 pounds from Garland. Kicks his another field goal, and he's going after Ken Ozie's record of 31 straight set back in '84. There's the number of plays on the scoring drive after an interception by Joe Johnson of TCU.
Tell you what, Johnson just limped off the field after that kick return.
Mark Davis pitches it back to Sloan Hood across the 30, and he's knocked out of bounds at the Houston 35-yard line. Tony Brooks knocked him out.
You know, Bill, you get the feeling Houston could be dangerous and get right back in the football game if they just quit shooting themselves in the foot. You know, they fumble, they make poor choices. TCU's defense can be moved against. If you'll just be patient and work on them, you can move the ball against this defense.
Well, look, Mitchell Benson looks like one of those big caterpillars you see out on the highway that moves the dirt. Boy, he is huge, isn't he? Second down, 4 to go. Mark Davis wants to pass. He goes across the middle. Look out, Jet Brown. Count it off at the 20, 10, no flags. Touchdown. 65-yard pass and run play from Mark Davis to Jet Brown, and that's 2 touchdowns for Brown tonight. And the extra point attempt by Chip Browndyke. It's up and good, and lightning strikes quickly for the Houston Cougars. They're right back in it with 3:53 left to play, third quarter. 17-14 now.
You know, Bill, right after Davis made a very poor choice the last series. Watch this. He sees him covered. Then he just waits, and then he hits him.
Boy, he did a great job of looking the man off, too, didn't he?
He did a fantastic job of being patient, where the time before he made an impatient play, just threw the ball up. That time he just waited for Brown to uncover. And, Bill, the 5th play of 65 yards or longer permitted by TCU this year.
I was just going to say, it looked like the Baylor game last weekend, didn't it? Some happy Cougars. Jet Brown.
Do you realize
Victoria?
You realize Baylor got 225 yards of offense on 3 plays against TCU last week?
Well, you said it when we started this quarter. You were wondering why Bill Yeoman hadn't gone to the air more against TCU.
You can throw against TCU. You can, for some reason, you can simply hit TCU with the big play. People have done it virtually all year long.
And Jim Wacker's got to be shaking his head right now. Only 2 plays, 71 yards, and only 1:07 for the Cougars to strike.
You realize the last 2 Houston drives have now taken 9 plays and gotten 148 yards?
Chip Browndyke advances on the football, and let's see, it may be headed out of bounds. It is. There'll be a flag and a 5-yard penalty.
You know, little things add up to momentum. What you didn't want your kicker to do there is knock it out of bounds, tire out your run back cover team, back it up 5 yards. TCU will get good field position, and you know who feels just as bad about it? Look at Browndyke. He says, what a klutz I am, what a klutz I am.
Just not my night, is it?
Yeah.
He's had better nights.
It's a nice dance, though. Look at, he's got the rhythm.
You know, going back to Mark, let's see, Jet Brown tonight. He has 4 receptions tonight, Norm, for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good night for the youngster from Victoria, Texas.
Sometimes you can pop it on a cover team that's run down to cover once, walk back up, and now must run down to cover again.
Oh, they're supposed to be in shape. Let's see, Browndyke.
High and short.
Gets it high and short at the 20-yard line is Tony Brooks. He almost popped it out. However, there's a flag back at the 30-yard line. It could be clipping on TCU. Let's wait and get the preliminary signal.
It's a very, very bad break for TCU. Look at the field position they're going to give up here.
Yeah, they would have had the ball right at the 40-yard line, and now it is a clipping call by referee Frank Shepard. So, wow, that's going to be almost a 30-yard penalty.
It is, because you're right. The ball was marked at the 39, and they're going to start playing around the 16, I believe, Bill. 23 yards in field position, and look at how critical the 23 are. I mean, you're at a point now where you make a mistake and you're in big trouble.
Yeah, you're right. Now you're going to allow the Cougar defense to pin its ears back and come after you.
On the run back, clipping on the receiving team. 15-yard penalty.
It's the linebacker Pitts, I believe. Yep, there it was.
So now a tough job for David Rasco and company. 1st and 10, and the ball is on the 15. Quick handoff on the right side, and boy, I thought for a moment that the runner had a little trouble getting that handoff. Jim Wacker now having to call the shots with not the field position he would like to have.
Boy, hasn't this game changed dramatically in the last 4 minutes or so?
Yes, it has.
From what looked like a dead-in-the-water Houston team down 14, the TCU trying to fight their way out from the goal line up 3.
Reggie Davis and Keith Burnett are the wide receivers. Back up to the middle, I believe that's Darthard. And David Bearden makes the tackle for Houston.
Suddenly, a Houston defense that looked soft the last few times has gotten its dander back up.
That's a good observation. Of course, A 65-yard pass and run play will do that for your spirits occasionally.
Tell you what, it'll do a world of confidence for the Houston offense too that hasn't hit many plays like that this year.
Let's watch Roscoe Tatum see if TCU calls his number on 3rd and 4 from the 22-yard line. Here's a handoff to Tatum, and boy, the Cougars were reading my mind. They were right there. Robert Harper, number 50, just crashed into Tatum, and it'll bring up 4th down. TCU will have to punt.
And Bill, look where TCU went with the play, right at their favorite spot, over Nix and Harper. Holy cow, there's a big lead play.
Orsby Crenshaw, that's Chris Becker. He'll be punting. He's inside his 10-yard line. Crenshaw is back at his own 40. TCU needs a good kick. This is end over end. Crenshaw can return it. He has it at the 35, brings it straight back up the field, and good field position for Houston at the 45-yard line.
Orsby has learned, though, that discretion's the better part of valor.
Well, north and south is better than east and west, and that's why he's out there.
Yeah, but Orsby realizes, hey, once I step across this white line, you can't cut me from 5'8" to 5'4".
Yeah, 181 pounds. There's some of the assistants on the sidelines for Houston. Special teams coaches Mickey Matthews does a good job along with Ben Hurt, Don Ivory.
Bill, you know what's starting to rear its ugly head here if Houston starts moving the ball? TCU's tendency to give up halftime and third quarter leads. It's haunted them all season. And
it's got to be playing on their minds a little bit. You're right. They've got to be going, uh-oh, what's going to happen next? 2:03 left to play, third quarter. 41-yard punt that time by Chris Becker. Jeff Brown going wide to the left.
Kevin Dean trying to fire up the troops a little bit during that lull in play.
Oh, a fumble. TCU's got it. Oh, what a hit by a Horned Frog in the middle of that line. I don't know who it was. Number 95, Mitchell Benson, recovered the fumble, but boy, what a collision. Kevin Dean, I think, was the man on the tackle. Let's see. Watch number 97, Kevin Dean. Oh, yeah, look at that picture-perfect tackle by Kevin Dean.
Ball on the ground, and TCU's tendency to commit football suicide rears its head again. But what a stick by Dean.
Well, the Cougars have been making mistakes, but I think more than calling it a mistake by Stankus, we ought to give a gold star to a great play by Dean.
What a hit. And now TCU goes for the jugular.
Rasco to Delaney, a gain of about 9.
Ooh, did he get a foot down? Did Delaney get a foot down? Inbounds?
I don't think Bill Yeoman thinks so.
Bill is saying check with an official, check with anybody. Oh, my.
Well, that would be a gain of 9 or 8 if it holds up.
I can hardly believe this play. There's the catch. It isn't even close. We're not even talking about a close ball here.
Well, the guy that had to make the call never saw whether he had possession of the ball or not.
That's terrible.
Well, it's a TCU first down, and I tell you what, Jim Wacker doesn't think it's terrible.
Well, what's sad is that it happens in a situation where there have been 2 or 3 calls tonight that have been very, very shakily officiated. Now you can say, did the man knock him out of bounds? No, the foot was not coming down in bounds anyway. In fact, the contact was made after the Tootsies touched out of bounds.
But it's a break that goes TCU's way, and it's 1st and 10, and you can't take it back. 34-yard line of Houston. Pat Bradford in the game along with Roscoe Tatum. Rasco will keep it, and he is hit hard from behind by Gary McManus, number 44, and David Bearden. McManus was the stand-up linebacker until earlier this season, and with about 2 weeks left in the spring, Bill Yeoman put him down as a down lineman. He had to gain some weight. He was only at about 211. He's up to about 222 now, but that's still awful small when you're going out of that 4-point stance. 2nd down and 8. Tatum across the middle, just pure power that time by TCU. Gary McGuire on the tackle. Boy, Roscoe Tatum's having himself a night, isn't he?
He is. For a guy that came into the game with 5 yards rushing, he's closing in on 100 now.
Big, strong, and fast. Time is running down. 32 seconds left to play, third quarter. Tatum comes off the field. big third down play now for TCU. 3rd and 3 if the Froggies want to keep possession. Ford and Tomini in the game. Twin tight ends. Pass across the middle, and it's good down to the 20-yard line. Robert Jones makes the tackle, but a good catch by Reggie Davis.
And that's probably going to be the last play of the quarter. 15 seconds. They will now start the clock running when they spot the chain.
TCU already has the play call. They're up to the line of scrimmage. They may get the play off here. 11 seconds, down to 10 seconds. TCU lining up 1st and 10 from the Houston 21-yard line. 5 seconds left. That's Keith Burnett in motion. Handoff up the middle to number 22, Bobby Davis. And he gains about 2, and there's the gun to end the 3rd quarter of play. And what an exciting second half it's been here at the Astrodome. We've had all sorts of fireworks, so stay with us for the final 15 minutes. The Frogs lead the Cougars 17-14 on HSE. TCU 31 points, but the Cougars have only scored 14 this season.
Yeah, but what we don't have up there is defensively. TCU's allowed 76 and Houston's allowed 67.
So something's got to give.
Yeah, we may have a few more points scored this quarter.
Well, it has been an exciting second half. It was 7-0 at halftime, but the Cougars have put up 2 quick touchdowns. TCU has one. In the 3rd quarter, it was 14-10, the Cougars winning the 3rd period. So now we have a 2nd and 8 play for TCU. Jim Wacker trying to win his first conference game in the last 14 tries. Boy, they didn't tell him 2 years ago it would be like this, did they?
No, they didn't. I tell you, the one that really got the Frog faithful upset was the loss to North Texas State. You can explain the losses to the Arkansas and SMUs and Baylors, but it's hard to explain North Texas State.
Not in your own backyard, right? Rasco with a pitch back, a dangerous pitch back to Bobby Davis. And good penetration and pursuit by Houston. Glenn Montgomery came all the way over from his nose guard position, along with Gary McGuire.
This is an important stop situation for Houston. It's an important go situation for TCU. 7 here would really put Houston in trouble. 3 basically doesn't change the scoreboard at all from the Houston standpoint. They need a touchdown to go ahead.
Reggie Davis and Jared Delaney check in, the 2 wide receivers. So this is a passing down, obviously, for TCU. 3rd, the Frogs need 6. David Rasco looks outside. He's got his man. A good, sure tackle at the 12. It's going to be close. Robert Jones was all over Reggie Davis, and I don't think Davis got to the yard marker he needed to get to.
No, in fact, they spot the ball back outside the 12. So that's probably a yard or more for a first down.
I know Thomas Everett's the best athlete in the conference, or at least I think so defensively, but Robert Jones is going to get some votes from a lot of coaches around the league. They really like this guy, Nora.
Nice one-on-one tackle here. Basically, if Davis falls forward there, TCU gets their first down and the drive continues. Now they got to try a field goal.
It'll be from the 18-yard line, a 28-yard attempt by Lee Newman.
Got it.
He nailed it. Boy, did he ever. That's his 2nd field goal of the game. And TCU gets 3 points, but as Norm pointed out, maybe a moral victory of sorts for the Houston defense because they're still only 6 points behind, 20-14.
And Houston has scored 2 of the last 3 times it's had the football.
And we've got plenty of time left. 13:35 left to play in the 4th quarter, and the Horned Frogs got to be loving it. HSE's coverage of Houston Rocket basketball debuts Thursday night as the Los Angeles Clippers, along Don Chaney, visit the Summit in Houston. The Clippers have a new look this year with former Sacramento Kings Larry Drew and Mike Woodson in the backcourt, and they will test the Rockets, who will play without the injured Ralph Sampson, but didn't seem to bother the Rockets today. So join us Thursday night at 7:30 as NBA basketball returns to the viewers in the Houston market on HSE. Today's final, by the way, was the Houston Rockets 112, the Los Angeles Lakers 102.
You're going to get your first look at Dwayne Poley and Tim Kempton in the NBA. Well, the Rockets have got, the Clippers have got some people. When I looked at their roster, I thought, let's see, Dwayne Poley.
All right. Back deep is Burnell Ramsey. along with Percy Hines. Ramsey will get it on the 5. And he'll bring it back up. He's got good speed. He runs over one of his own men. Look out. Oh, he had one guy to beat at the 35, and he may have gone 95 yards. Reggie Davis really made a saving tackle for TCU.
Yes, he did, because if Ramsey had cut outside, and the only thing that kept him from cutting outside was basically a bump of his own blocker. He gets up into his own wedge here, watch, and really runs through his own wedge. See it? If he'd have allowed that wedge a step more time to do its blocking, he might have been gone.
Reminds me of Herschel Walker, the way he runs over his own blockers. You know, the Cowboys are learning to get out of his way. First down and 10, ball on the 38-yard line. Sloan Hood, Matt Pearson in the backfield along with Mark Davis. There's the pitch back. Hood's got some running. Good block by Pearson. And he gets out to the 45-yard line. Oh, did Pearson put a block out there on Joe Johnson?
We've had some rambling up and down the field this second half, haven't we?
There's TCU scoring drive. Created on a Houston turnover. 8 plays, 33 yards, and the field goal by Newman. Newman is now 10 of 12 on the season. So he's having a good year. He's perfect in the extra point department. 6 yards on the game by Sloan Hood. Bring up second down now and 4 for Houston. There's Edward Thomas in motion. Handoff to the big back again, and boy, does he rumble. He carries some TCU tacklers into Frog territory. Kevin Dean was riding him for all it worked, but it looked like a rodeo there.
I tell you, Houston may have the feeling here offensively.
This looked like a night at Billy Bob's, didn't it? Look at Dean get on top and just hang on for dear life.
The old mechanical bull.
Oh, boy, what a battle.
Tell you what, Sloan Hood's a load, isn't he?
Oh, he's 220 pounds, and he runs pretty good, too, and he's just a junior out of Houston Yates. First down and 10, Houston. The ball on TCU's 48-yard line. That's Thomas again in motion. Oh, what a nice hit by TCU that time. Mitchell Benson put all 280 pounds right on Matt Pearson's jersey number.
You keep wondering, when is Houston going to go back and work on the secondary that they have really lashed a few times in the second half? I mean, the running game didn't get Houston any points in the first half. When they started to move, they started to throw.
Second down, 9. Looking for Jet Brown, and it's incomplete. Tony Brooks did a good job of coming up that time and busting it up. And I think maybe Mark Davis may have waited a little too long. That's a timing play, and Davis, I think, waited a beat too long, and he gave Brooks a chance to get in there and bust it up. Well, he's only completed 3, but they've been for big numbers. Now a big third down for Houston. 3rd and 9. Ball on the TCU 47-yard line.
Typically, they've gone back to the open field right with the rollout in these situations.
Looking to the near sideline, and did the catch? Yeah, what an acrobatic catch by Jack Brown. Tony Brooks was all over him. Norm, how did he get his foot down on this?
I don't know, because it didn't appear to have any chance in the world of being a catch when this ball was thrown. First of all, he has to make an acrobatic grab of a wobbly pass. He gets up and gets, oh my, drags a foot down, gets it in. What a catch and play by Jet Brown.
And, you know, Mark Davis did a heck of a job of hanging in there on the rush to make the throw. Look at those stats on Jet Brown tonight. 1st and 10, Houston. Ball on the TCU 35. Houston trails by 6. Rollout. Davis has got some room, and it closes quickly. Oh, what a play by Scott Harris. This has turned into an exciting football game. Both teams making some big plays.
Harris just all alone. What a nice play by Harris, who didn't get sucked in by the running fake. Tell you what, if Harris bites on the run fake there, Davis gets loads of yardage on the bootleg. You
would think your quarterback, though, could outmaneuver a guy who weighs 215 pounds. Davis didn't look very maneuverable that time, and it's 2nd down. The Cougars need 14 as they come to the far side on the veer, and Davis keeps.
2nd and 14, a short side quarterback keeper.
John Booty was over there along with Mitchell Benson. Boy, Benson had to run a long way.
Now you got an interesting situation here. If Houston can get Browndyke, another 5 yards or so, he can at least try from out there.
If I'm Bill Yeoman, I've got to go back to Jet Brown.
Yep.
I mean, what a night he's having, and he has really worked Tony Brooks over tonight.
And he comes to the wide side of the field left, and they're in a split back situation.
And there's a man-on-man. It's just between Brooks and Brown right now. 3rd down, 10 needed. This time Davis goes the other way, intercepted. That's Philonda Newton. He could go. Look out, he is going to go all the way. Touchdown, Philonda Newton and TCU. For Philonda Newton. And they'll be talking about that for the freshman from Fort Worth for some time to come. He's a sophomore. Boy, Bill Yeoman is hot.
Well, you don't know whose mistake it is, but Davis threw an absolutely abysmal ball to a wide-open receiver. What looked like an abysmal quarterback mistake. Sometimes those are wide receiver mistakes.
The extra point is good by Lee Newman, and what a change of events as the Horned Frogs convert a Houston turnover into a big play, and now lead it 27-14 with 10:27 left to play. And we leave you with a happy Philonda Newton. Norm, let's watch the play again. I thought they'd go to Jet Brown's side. They didn't. They went up top.
Well, they didn't need to. The receiver's wide open. Look where Davis throws the ball. I mean, if he throws the slant, even a decent slant pattern, Rhodes has got the ball at the 20-yard line now. Maybe as you see Newton take it the rest of the way, maybe Rhodes was supposed to keep coming and hooked up a little bit, because Bill Yeoman looked just as upset with the receiver as he was with the quarterback.
Yeah, he was giving the what for to Mike Rhodes on the sideline. Percy Hines, Vernell Ramsey will be back now for Houston, so that took a little air out of the Cougar machine.
A lot of air.
And Ramsey, with that good speed, will have it at the 10-yard line. Trying to get outside, but good pursuit by Smith of TCU, and he makes the tackle. So a good kick by Lee Newman, who's been busy tonight. 27-14. The Frogs have outscored Houston 10-0 here in the 4th quarter.
And an unhappy Bill Yeoman has changed quarterbacks.
Gerald Landry will come back in. I don't think he's really been able, of course, with the injuries to Landry, he's had to play Mark Davis, but Davis had such an exceptional game, Norm, against Oklahoma State in the 2nd game of the season. In fact, he was the player of the game that particular day. And so Yeoman has been playing quarterback chairs, so to speak, without too much success. Landry dancing in the pocket. And he scrambles for maybe a yard. Good pursuit by Scott Harris again. It's hard to get outside of number 39.
Harris is so mobile. We've seen him blitz. We've seen him cut down the bootleg, and that time we saw him put an end to the scramble.
You know, Bill Yeoman back in the 60s had a comment one time to a sports writer. He said, the sports writer commented to Yeoman, he says, you know, Coach, you've got 2 excellent quarterbacks. And Yeoman looked at him and he said, well, anybody that tells me I have 2 good quarterbacks means I don't have 1 great one. And I think he has positioned himself that way this year. He doesn't have anyone who's come to the forefront. Landry. Jet Brown again with a great catch, and look at the moves by Brown across the 45. Somebody better get a hand on him. Boy, he has had some kind of night. Jet Brown has really worked over Tony Brooks, hasn't he?
Well, and we go back to your comment before of why on 3rd down they didn't try to isolate Brown again when TCU gave him that, but this is a remarkable play. You know, Bill, he almost breaks this through about 5 defenders.
He really does. Look at Brooks can't make the play.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That looked like one of those greased pig contests at the state fair. Nobody could get a handle on Jet. I'd keep going to him. Shoot, man, when you got a good thing like that, go to the well. Keep going until TCU stops it. They haven't stopped it yet. Thomas in motion. Again, Landry looking for Brown. He's got him open down here, and does he make the catch? No, he catches it, but the referee said he was out of bounds.
Holy cow, how did he catch the ball? That's what I want to know.
I have no idea.
How did he catch the ball?
Well, I think Landry's showing a lot of smarts by looking his way. He's just letting him get open on Brooks. Brooks can't guard him one-on-one, and I'm kind of...
Bill, that's a catch.
He makes that catch.
How does that official blow that call again? How in the world do you blow a call that is directly in front of your face?
And you really feel sorry for the youngster.
Well, you know, you make an effort that good, and quite frankly, we've had about 5 or 6 terribly blown calls tonight in a very poorly officiated game.
Landry coming to the outside. That one intended for Mike Rhodes, incomplete.
Wait a minute. Chance they'll rule it a catch.
I'd like to pass this along to you. Belanda Newton's 85-yard interception return is the longest in TCU history. The previous best, you go back to an 83-yarder by Lyle Blackwood. Pretty familiar name there, huh?
Lyle Blackwood.
Against Washington in 1971.
One of the killer bees.
Yeah, I think his batteries are a little run down right now, but boy, what a game for that young man, Jet Brown. Now it's a 3rd and 10 call for the Cougars on their own 48-yard line, and they've got to get back in it. 8:56 left to play. Here comes a big rush by TCU, and he just throws it out of bounds. Landry had intended it for Harry Crum. Greg Jones was doing a good job of putting the pressure on Landry, and the Cougars will have to punt.
Bill, you know, officiating is a very difficult job. But what's been really difficult to understand tonight is there were 4 or 5 plays directly in front of the official. Not difficult calls to make.
Simon Rodriguez inside his own 35. Better hurry, it's blocked. TCU's got it.
It can be run in.
Oh, they decide to fall on it inside the Houston 30-yard line. What a mistake by Simon Rodriguez. He had plenty of time, and he just took too many steps. And there's that big guy again, Cliff Gant.
This is what we've seen on the special teams. Cliff's going to be a star. You know, this was not, look at the block. It was a one-man effort by Gant.
Went
unbelievable. This is a one-man punt rush.
And, of course, Chris Shaw is looking around trying to find a handle on the football. He didn't know what to do with it.
Did you see who recovered it? Cliff Gant.
He was so excited.
The center and guard, watch, they snap, they head downfield. So Cliff just slips through, leaps. Rodriguez takes too much time. Oh, Lee, I tell you what, old Cliff's having a night on the special teams.
Boy, everybody's smiling on that TCU sideline. Everything's going the Horned Frog way. 8:12 now left to play. David Rasco. Nice flip back this time, and good pursuit by Houston. No running room. Tyrone Jones closed the play down quickly along with Gary McManus. Bobby Davis trying to get some running room.
That's the kind of thing where if you're the running back and the quarterback runs it 40 yards across field, and then his 7 red shirts get there 2 steps from the sidelines, he says, "Here, running back, you take it."
You know, with 7:45 left to play in the game, the Cougars are heading for their 10th loss in their last 12 games in the Astrodome. And, you know, they don't have the home field advantage here anymore, do they, Norm?
No, this is the home field disadvantage.
Good bust up the middle by Roscoe Tatum.
Tatum ought to be right at about 100.
Well, I would say tonight there might be 13, 14,000 in the stadium, and a lot of these are TCU fans, and you really wonder what has happened to the U of H alumni and even the student body of a school of 30,000 people. Where are they? Bill Yeoman is concerned about it.
Well, you know, it's chic in Houston to say something else is going on in town, but there's nothing else going on in town tonight.
Lee Newman will be attempting the field goal. That'll be a 35-yard attempt. It's up, And it's good. And TCU continues to come on strong here in the fourth quarter, leading the University of Houston 30-14 on HSE. Field goals and 3 extra points. And look at that follow-through. And he knew he had it all the way.
Yeah, see that when you make it when you're a kicker. Oh, now come on, Lee. You're not supposed to celebrate. You're supposed to be real cool when you make it like, no big stuff, you know, another field goal.
Well, it's got to feel like the whole city of Fort Worth off the shoulders of this man right here, Jim Wacker, who promised great things a couple of seasons ago, and he's had 2 tough years.
With the way this club's played in the fourth quarter, the city of Fort Worth won't be off the shoulders for another 6:57.
That's Percy Hines, number 29. He's back deep for Houston along with Burnell Ramsey. 30-14. TCU.
Let's see if old Cliff Gant gets down under this one, Bill.
Oh, he's pumped up now. Here's Ramsey again at the 5-yard line. Look out. And he's all the way back to midfield. A 45-yard return on the kickoff by Burnell Ramsey, a sophomore out of Broken Bow, Oklahoma. And Tommy Sharp had to save the day for TCU here.
I don't know if you'll see it. Watch 45 Dickinson. Watch the move he makes. Wham! Like a bowling alley he goes through there, knocking people down, and Ramsey almost breaks it. Look at the kicker back there. Newman saying, that's it, guys. That's it. Make the tackle. Good job.
I don't want to get in there. Mark Davis is back in that quarterback shuttle again. He's back in the game. This time he looks down. He's got Crum deep, and he goes to the short man. And that's his running back, Matt Pearson. Scott Harris knocked him out of bounds. There's the TCU scoring drive. Newman having an excellent night tonight. He is now 11 of 13 in the field goal department this season.
What an important win for TCU.
Burnell Ramsey has 154 yards tonight. And that's a new school record for Houston.
Realize Houston's also outgained TCU tonight.
Jet Brown is in motion. Mark Davis. And did he make that catch? I think he did. Tony Brooks was right there with him, but Jet Brown makes another unbelievable reception.
It was unbelievable, especially in light of the fact that he was pushed before the ball got there by the defensive back. He had a little assistance heading for the AstroTurf.
Well, you know, I know hindsight is 20/20, but I just wonder why they haven't gone to this kid more tonight.
You can't see it from that, but boy, Brown, I don't know if that ball was caught either. That might have tough to see from that angle, but a wonderful pair of hands by Brown all evening tonight.
Now they're giving Brooks a little help. It looks like they may have double coverage on Brown now down the left side, so this time Mark Davis will run with it, and he gets down to the TCU 35. The only factor now, the clock, and it's down to 6:08, and time is running out on the University of Houston.
Well, if you're Houston, what you're thinking is 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions. But that's not what Fred Akers was thinking today, apparently. He was down 16. Scored a touchdown and went for 1 in the fourth quarter, which probably will draw some of his critics further out of the woodwork.
2nd down, 7 to go now at the TCU 36-yard line. Davis, plenty of time, looks to you-know-who. He dropped the ball, however. Who's going to get it? TCU recovers the fumble.
What are they saying? They're saying TCU, and look, I think it was Harris, too.
It was a reception by Jet Brown, and he was jarred loose of the football. Scott Harris was right there. Tony Brooks knocked it out of his grasp, but Brown had it.
You know, Bill, what caused the fumble here was the attempt to almost do too much on a play. Brown desperately trying to break this ball open. Watch. And it's gone. And Harris, I'm telling you, has been all over the field tonight.
He really has. I can't find any fault in Jet Brown on that. You're right, Norm. He was trying to go for 6. It's all he could do in that situation, and the ball was stripped loose on a perfect tackle. And a run of about 5. Glenn Montgomery on the stop for Houston. And that's got to be pretty much fun for this young man, Pat Bradford. He's out of Clear Creek. He's a senior, and he's getting to play in his hometown. And, you know, he's got a lot of family in the stands tonight. Hasn't played a lot for TCU.
You know, that's one of the really admirable things about Jim Wachter. He notices things like that. He'll try to use players in certain situations like that.
Rasco being pursued from behind. And he just keeps it, makes the safe play. Roger Anderson, a freshman out of Tyler, one of the many freshmen for the University of Houston. You know, if the alumni and the students will stay with the Cougars, though, Norm, they're so young. When he gets a few of those ineligible players back next season and has a good recruiting class, you know the way it is in college football. The Cougars could go from last place in the conference back to first again.
Well, they've certainly got the makings of some defensive stars on this club, because Harper and McGuire are both back next year.
They've got to get a quarterback. And they look like they've got some good receivers. Sloan Hood will be back for his senior year. So we're only just a couple of big steps away here in the Southwest Conference of turning programs around. That's a first down by TCU. You saw where TCU was a couple of seasons ago, and they're trying to get back. They've had 3 good recruiting years. There is Scott Harris, and boy, what a night he has had. Look at look at those stats, will you?
Plus, he caused an interception. Let's not forget that also.
Oh, yeah. And I think this might get Roscoe Tatum over the 100-yard mark. He had 97 yards a moment ago. If he gained 3, he'll have an even 100. Andy Sexton made the tackle. A lot of heroes tonight for TCU.
Yeah, a lot of heroes for TCU. And, boy, they've needed
Tatum. That's more than he's carried the ball in a long time. Clock down to 3:37 now. Just a straight handoff. Tatum again. TCU content to let that clock run out. And you got to give a W to David Rasco. Jared Delaney brings a play in. So, you know, Rasco's got a lot of family here in Houston, too. He's from Westchester High School. There's Roscoe Tatum from Carthage, Texas. And he's rushed for over 100 yards tonight. And just a real safe pass to Ford across the middle. That's Gary Ford, the 6'5", 240-pounder. And Sexton and Anthony Young hanging on. Nice safe throw by David Rasco. And it's another TCU first down with 2:56 left to play.
It surely has been an entertaining football game. A little dull in the first half. It hasn't entertained Bill much, has it?
Well, I got a feel for that man right there. I've known him for over 25 years, Norm. There's not a finer Christian gentleman anywhere on this face of this earth as Bill Yeoman, and nobody would like to turn this thing around any more than he would. There's some thought that he may be bumped up to the athletic director's post at the end of this season. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, you got a feel for the Houston defense again. Played hard. 7 of those points is an interception. A couple of other threes set up by the offense's turnovers deep in their own territory.
Big plays tonight.
Big plays, lots of them.
And that's something TCU has been seeing happen against the Horned Frogs. The big plays have been going for the other teams. Tonight, the Horned Frogs were able to make the big plays. And I guess the return by Philanda Newton, the biggest, 85 yards. Clock winding down now, 150 and counting down. And so the TCU Horned Frogs will go to 3-5 on the season, 1-4 in the Southwest Conference. The Cougars will drop to 1-7 and 0-5.
And TCU's first win in the conference since 1984.
When is the last time you've ever seen a U of H team in last place in the Southwest Conference?
And it's going to happen.
Dennis Kennedy is in there for Houston now, playing a lot of people. Timeout called by the Cougars. That puts Norm's dollar in great jeopardy.
Bill and I made a bet. Bill and I occasionally make these side wagers on games. I wagered the game would be over by 9:50 on the Astrodome clock, and it's 9:41.
Well, if Cougars can call a couple of more timeouts here, well, TCU will have to punt. If they throw a lot of passes, that may swing back the other way.
I understand. My buck's in jeopardy here.
I gave you that 9:52 out of the kindness of my heart. Chris Becker will be punting.
Come on, let's get this action rolling here.
Orsby Crenshaw will be back deep for Houston. TCU has put this one away in the fourth quarter.
And you're right. The phrase is put it away. Look at this wonderful punt, caught at the 3.
Oh, when things are going your way, everything is going your way. That was Llewellyn again, and what a great job he did of getting down under the punt. Chris Becker gets an assist for hanging it up high and letting it die right down inside the 5.
You know, Bill, as much as a lot of people want to criticize Jim Wacker, he just might be right about this team. Get them a year further down the road, get all the red shirts back in the program, get all of the kids a year older and a year bigger on the weight program.
And all of the red shirts he's got sitting out will be coming back for their senior year next year.
And hopefully all of the injured people.
Right.
The Palmer, the Stone, the Ankrum, those types. Clint Haley just back after an injury.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Jim Wacker out for long. That's Harry Crum, who's one of the backup quarterbacks. That's how thin Houston is. He's at a wide receiver. Mark Davis looking down the middle, and he almost throws an interception. And boy, he was decked on that play. And guess who that was back there? He almost threw it to. Scott Harris.
But Scott's been reading somebody's mail. And Scott's leaving. Andy Pitts is in, and Scott Harris leaves, and he gets a well-deserved rest for the last minute of this one.
Well, he's had a dandy of a game defensively for TCU tonight. 1:08 left to play. 30-14 TCU over Houston.
Oh!
That was Stankus, and he's taken some tough shots by the middle of that TCU defensive line. That was Mike Hebert for the Horned Frogs. And he's out of Pasadena, which is right outside the Houston city limits. You know, there are a lot of Houston area people on this TCU squad.
Houston's a very fertile recruiting area. It will be again this year. Look at this. Houston waiting this long to send the play in.
35 seconds, 34.
They may get a delay of game penalty here.
It's down to 3 seconds on the clock, 1 second, and he finally gets it off. Davis across the 10 to about the 11, and it'll be shy of the first down. Went to Stankus. Tommy Sharp on the tackle. 16 seconds left, and Houston calls a timeout. So it'll be 4th down. I'd like to remind you again that our next telecast will be in Austin. You think Bill Yeoman's feeling tough here in Houston? What about Fred Akers in Austin? And not friendly confines for Fred, but anyway, the Cougars and the Longhorns will be getting it on Saturday, November the 8th. Same-day delayed coverage right here on HSE.
It strikes me that the crowd in that stadium may be the unhappiest possible crowd in this conference.
Oh, is he happy? Jim Wacker. Just to get a win has to feel good for this man. He's been through some tough seasons. He must have had a bet going on, too.
He obviously isn't trying to get the game over by 9:50 yet.
Of course, if you're happy on the purple and white side, it's not so happy on the red and white side of the field.
You know, though, Bill, football is such a silly game. Somebody in Walla Walla, Washington is going to pick up the paper tomorrow morning and they're going to say TCU blew Houston out. And that's not true. This game turned on a series of strange plays.
What do they know in Walla Walla? 15 seconds left to play. Flag on the play anyway, and a pass down to LeBlanc. Playing center field, TCU could run it back for a touchdown. He tries to get in and can't go.
Oh!
Tony Brooks, who had such a tough night tonight, was going for 6 at the 1-yard line.
But what an effort! Holy cow!
You know who he looked like? Herschel Walker, airborne there, trying to score.
I'm telling you, Tony.
Procedure on the offense, decline, first down.
Holy cow! Talk about smelling the end zone, Bill. Bill, I tell you what, I wish our Southwest Airlines jets took off like this.
Boy, Tony Brooks has had a tough night tonight trying to guard Jet Brown. Now watch Butch Meyer collide with him. Oh! 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 They got to dig in. Here it is. 4 seconds left.
Oh, wait a minute. It's 9:47 on the clock. What's that whistle?
And it's a timeout, Houston.
No! No, it's not a...
That official is on my side.
Say it isn't so.
It's a timeout by Bill Yeoman. That's Ben Hurt, who more or less acts as the defensive coordinator for Houston, over there talking to the official. And that should just about do your dollar in, Norm.
Still 9:47, Bill. Come on, Jim, get the play in. That a boy.
Okay, Ron Giles now will be the quarterback. He is the freshman out of Houston-Madison.
9:48.
And he'll get a chance with it.
Don't you know, though, Bill, somebody in the TCU backfield is desperately waiting for the call, because here's a freebie touch right here to try to get.
Sean Millsap is also in there. He's a 5'8" senior out of Weatherford.
I bet you Wacker told him to fall down. I bet you Wacker told him to fall down.
He did?
He did. Oh, and there's a flag on the play. Wait a minute.
It's going to be offsides, I think, on Houston. Looked like Keith Jenkins may have jumped offsides.
Flag on the play.
So TCU will get a little closer. 3 seconds left in the game.
Oh, my goodness.
Can't get this one over with, can we?
Come on, officials. Give us a break.
Yep. That was Keith Jenkins out of New Orleans.
On the defense, still first down.
Now, all he has to do, all Ron Giles has to do is just kneel down, and this baby's over. And that's what he does. And that's the end of the game.
9:49, Bill.
Boy, you're lucky, Norm. TCU Horned Frogs with a great second half performance, scoring 23 points and defeating the Houston Cougars 30-14. There are two beleaguered head coaches, two very good friends, Bill Yeoman and Jim Wacker. And tonight, Wacker, the happy man, Ted Umbehagen, the offensive line coach of this young Cougar offense. But Bill Yeoman still able to manage a smile as his Cougars now go to 1-7 and 0-5 in the Southwest Conference. TCU is now 3-5 and 1-4. The final score, Frogs 30, Cougars 14. You're watching Southwest Conference football on Home Sports Entertainment. The Astrodome in Houston, TCU 30 and the University of Houston 14. And for Jim Wacker, a very, very big win. The first conference win in the last 15 games for Jim Wacker. And it looks like now that will keep TCU out of the cellar. Houston heading in that direction.
Yeah, Houston basically has one chance, and that would be to beat Rice in the Bayou Bucket game. That would send all three of them to a one-loss or a one-win situation in the conference. Gee, I'm struck by what you said at the beginning of the game, that we're watching tonight the two teams that fought it out for the Cotton Bowl 2 years ago. My, how the fortunes of football can change.
Yeah, but it looks like, you know, a big win by TCU now. This could get the Frogs going. And when they get all of those injured players back next season and some of the red shirts, Jim Wacker may have his program back on the upswing.
Yeah, Jim's been telling us for a long time now that 87's the year, that what he's doing, he's pumping experience into key people this year. He's waiting for his healthy people to get back, and his red shirts like Terrell and Stradlin and those people, Kent Trammell, and that he feels 87 will be a fine year. From what we saw tonight, he's got some very talented young players.
Norm, I guess if you had to have a key to this game, it was when TCU was leading at 20-14 and the Cougars were marching, and Philanda Newton came out of nowhere to catch this one and ramble 85 yards, the longest interception return for a touchdown in TCU history.
That was one of just a number of Houston mistakes, but take nothing away from TCU. They made some big plays tonight. Sure, there were some Houston fumbles, but on at least a couple of occasions, they were forced by tremendous pressure from the TCU defense. This one right here may have been some miscommunication between the quarterback and the wide receiver, but Newton did a great job with it once he got it.
Well, it's not going to be an easy finish now. Jim Wacker has to be pleased with this win, but he's got a tough finishing schedule.
Yeah, he is, but a W is a W. It doesn't matter who you beat. It doesn't matter how you beat him. He needed one.
Okay, we'll return to the Astrodome in Houston right after this break from your local stations. You're watching Southwest Conference football on Home Sports Entertainment.